Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the October 23rd, 2018 Board of Commissioners meeting, and I'm just so glad you're all here tonight. So let's make this a long night, all right? So we can all have some fellowship here. I'm just trying to work up Commissioner Weatherford here because he gets pretty excited if we stay past 9 o'clock. We're very blessed tonight to have Pastor Michael Lewis, Dr. Michael Lewis from the Roswell Street Baptist Church to lead us in invocation. And then Deputy Sandra Deliska leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So those who are willing and able, please stand.
Let's bow together in prayer. Heavenly Father, we're so grateful that we could boldly approach your throne of grace tonight in prayer, and we thank you, Lord, for the blessing of Cobb County, and we thank you, Lord, for the joy of living in this community. And we thank you, Lord, for how diverse we are, but yet, Lord, how we have one common ambition in our life, and that is, Lord, to live peaceably, to live humbly, and to live in the fear of your name. Lord, you said in your word that unless the Lord build the house, they labor in vain who try to build it. Unless the Lord keep watch over the city, those who try to keep it stay awake in vain. So, Lord, we come humbly before your throne tonight asking that your blessing would be upon this commission. We pray, Father, for the decisions that would be made tonight, Lord, would be pleasing in your sight and helpful for every citizen of this community. We pray, Father, and ask that your mighty hand would be upon each member of this council. We're thankful, Lord, for Mike Boyce and his leadership as our chairman. Thank you for Bob Weatherford as he watches over Northwest Cobb. Thank you for Bob Ott as he serves in Southeast Cobb. And thank you for Joanne Burrell in our Northeast area of Cobb, and Lisa Cupid as she serves in Southwest Cobb. We pray, Lord, your blessing upon each one of them. We ask, Lord, that your hand would be upon us, and we're grateful as you teach us in Jeremiah 29:7 to seek the welfare of the city. For as the city prospers, all those who within it will prosper. So we pray for the prosperity of Cobb County, and we humbly submit this prayer to you in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay, we have a number of presentations tonight. I'm going to start with the DUI court program, which I get to give the honor of presenting the proclamation. So if I would have Judge Bruton and his team come up, I'd appreciate it. A proclamation, whereas in October 2008, the Cobb County launched the DUI court program. Over the past 10 years, the DUI court program has served over 525 individuals. And whereas the DUI court substantially reduces alcoholism and fatalities. 1.1 million people are arrested in America annually for DUI. And only 1% of which is estimated to be only 1% of the offenders. DUI courts prevent future DUI offenses at a level of productivity which is more cost effective than any other justice strategy. And whereas DUI court facilitates community-wide partnerships which brings together public safety and public health professionals in the fight against substance abuse, alcoholism, and co-occurring disorders through intensive supervision, prevention, and treatments. And whereas accountability courts are recognized as the most successful criminal justice intervention in our nation's history. The Cobb County DUI court program has successfully graduated 390 participants with an 88% retention rate. Now, therefore, we, the Cobb County Board of Commissioners, do hereby encourage all members of the community to support efforts to reduce the stigma and increase awareness and support for people and families coping with alcoholism. Furthermore, we commend the Cobb County DUI Court and its team for its contributions toward reducing DUI crime and recidivism for the citizens of Cobb County over the past 10 years. This, the 23rd day of October 2018, given unto our hand, the Board of Commissioners of Cobb County. Your Honor, this is yours and your team. Congratulations to all of you. And the microphone's yours.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank Commissioner Boyce and all the commissioners for honoring us here today. We celebrate our 10-year anniversary. It was started in 2008 by Judge Melody Clayton. And the program is a program that recognizes that if you can solve the addiction problem, then you can solve the public safety problem. And the thing that is so great about this program is not only is it a great public safety effort, it's a program that restores families. And as I told our graduates a few minutes ago, it is so wonderful for us because what we see in this program is that we see fathers and sons and daughters and mothers restored to their families because of the work of the DUI court and the fact that they now know how to handle an addiction. They don't go back to drinking, and they go back to lives that are productive and make very good citizens. So we're very grateful for Cobb County's support. The commissioners have given us support all these years, and we're very thankful for the opportunity to get to serve our community in this way.
Thank you, Your Honor. And you want to introduce the rest of your team here?
I sure do. This is Darcy Kamal. She is our DUI court coordinator, and Darcy's been doing this for how many years, Darcy? 8 years, so she's got a lot more experience than I do. I'm going to be doing it in a couple of years. And then Tiffany Jones is our assistant coordinator. And how long have you been doing this work, Tiffany? 7 years. So these are really, Darcy and Tiffany are the backbone of our program, and they run it all. I just kind of do what they tell me to do. And so very thankful for them and their commitment to the program. So very, very, very nice.
I want you to know you all make a great difference and make a difference in people's lives every day, and that's something that I know you take home every day to appreciate. So you bet. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Judge.
And now we have Commissioner Burrell to present a proclamation for the Roswell Street Baptist Church.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Lewis and the elders and members of Roswell Street Baptist Church, come on up. Before I read the proclamation, I'd just like to say, first of all, it's an honor to be with you tonight and to have you here to recognize you on 75 years of service at Roswell Street Baptist Church. Not only are they committed to serving the Lord, but they serve everyone in this community in Cobb, from our schools and many events. I've attended many events for our schools and community at your church, and we thank you for your commitment and your generosity. So, whereas in 1943, First Baptist Church of Marietta purchased the Robinson home on Roswell Street out of a need for a new church east of its downtown center. It hired the Reverend Hoyt G. Farr to help start and organize the nascent congregation. And whereas gathering at the mansion on September 12, 1943, known as Constitution Sunday, a total of 30 people signed a charter member list and then were joined by 3 others, thus creating the new Roswell Street Baptist Church. Members pitched in to transform the home into a place of worship. And whereas the congregation quickly grew as people came to Marietta from throughout the country, membership numbers escalated into the thousands after Dr. Nelson Price became pastor in 1965. The congregation opened a new 4,000-seat worship center in 1979, followed by a $4 million education facility in 1994. Whereas during its 75 years of existence, the church grew into a vibrant and integral part of Cobb County. Mission efforts have reached out to area residents as well as foreign nations from multiple countries, including Brazil, Kenya, Korea, and Cuba, creating a worldwide impact. And whereas its spiritual leaders have been the Reverend Hoyt G. Farr from 1943 to 1974, the Reverend Jimmy Garrett from 1947 to 1949, Dr. Hugh L. Smith from 1950 to 1953, Dr. Walter E. Sanders from 1954 to 1961, the Reverend William Rittenhouse from 1962 to 64, Dr. Nelson Price from 1965 to 2000, Dr. Ernest Easley from 2002 to 2015, and now Dr. Michael S. Lewis from 2015 to the present. Now, therefore, we, the Cobb County Board of Commissioners, do hereby salute the past, present, and future members of Roswell Street Baptist Church on this, the year of its 75th anniversary, and recognize the importance impact they have had on our community, the 23rd day of October, 2018. Thank you.
So much. Appreciate
You
that.
want to say a few words and introduce?
Yes. Thank you very much. It's a great honor for us to receive this proclamation tonight, and I'm standing with our trustees and deacons of Roswell Street. We have over 50 deacons, so they couldn't all fit in here tonight, but we're grateful for each one of these leaders that stand as a testimony of what it means to be a community that agrees together to serve. We feel that we are for Cobb County, we're in Cobb County, and by God's grace, we're in the very heart of Cobb County, serving here at Roswell Street. So thank you very much for this acknowledgement in this presentation tonight.
Thank you. Do you want to introduce?
Yeah, I'll
You
be.
want to introduce yourself?
I'll be glad to. This is David Summerman, who serves as our trustee and deacon. Russell Palmer, he serves as our deacon chairman this year at Roswell Street. Michael Lawrence, who serves as a deacon and trustee. Anthony Irillo, who is our deacon and also trustee. Jerry and Marilyn Lawson, who serves as our trustee and deacon. Brother Alex Owen, who serves as our trustee and deacon, and also served as the chairman of the search team that caught me here. And then we're grateful for Ron Pierce, who serves as a deacon and trustee. And then Robert and Gail McMaster, he serves as a trustee and deacon as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And a very nice invocation.
Thank you.
And by the way, I'll take all the prayers I can get, especially the next 2 weeks. Okay, let's get in for a picture. Come on up here, Gail. Get up here, Gail. We're short. Thank you. Okay. Who's next?
Yeah, I'm going to make a more brief announcement. You'll notice that we had a present, Commissioner Burrow was supposed to do a presentation about Diaper Day, but we decided that, not we, there's been a decision made to be more appropriate to do this Monday at the Square, so we'll not be doing that tonight. So I will now yield the floor to Commissioner Cupid, who has a number of presentations.
Good evening. If I may have Ms. Erica Smith and Dr. Hamilton join me up front. This month, we have opportunity to recognize October as Dyslexia Awareness Month. And today with me, I have Erica Smith, who is a parent of a young person with dyslexia, who I had opportunity to have some robust discussion with about this topic, and I was so moved that I went and researched more about it to learn just how much this impacts so many persons that are walking among us, that are going to school with our children, and yet provide so much opportunity for them to overcome these challenges, to be not only contributing members of our society, but successful members of our society. So with that, I have her here with me today, as well as Dr. Hamilton with the Howard School, where we will bring attention to dyslexia and fully educate the public so that they can recognize the signs of it and also become supporters of those who are around you who may have this condition. Whereas dyslexia is a learning disability that affects approximately 1 in 5 Americans, regardless of race, gender, age, or socioeconomic status. And whereas dyslexia is the result of a neurological difference occurring at all levels of intelligence and is not an intellectual disability. And whereas dyslexia affects the way the brain processes information and is characterized by difficulties with reading, writing, and spelling, memorizing number facts, reading quickly enough to comprehend, trouble learning a foreign language, doing math operations correctly, putting things in order and following instructions despite normal intelligence. And whereas persons with dyslexia must overcome challenges in school, work, and personal growth, this learning difference can be made easier to overcome through early diagnosis and identification, along with support of family, friends, highly trained teachers, multisensory learning programs, and individualized instruction. And whereas we recognize that some individuals with dyslexia are gifted in learning and creativity, including notable historical figures that have changed the course of our world. And whereas in an effort to help educate the public about dyslexia and in an effort to support parents, teachers, and individuals with dyslexia, the International Dyslexia Association has designated October as Dyslexia Awareness Month. Now, therefore, we, the Cobb County Board of Commissioners, do proclaim the month of October 2018 to be Dyslexia Awareness Month in Cobb County. Thank you. With that, I was hoping you can share with them a little bit about your experiences, both as a parent and as an educator.
Okay. Just as a parent with a child that is dyslexic, I'm happy that we're bringing awareness here. There's a lot of things that I should have noticed early on, or I could have noticed early on if I had the knowledge, rhyming, puzzles, things like that that you see that children do in preschool and you think, he just doesn't want to do it. But the more awareness that is brought to dyslexia, the more that you know, you can go out, get testing, do research, and help. Also, it was something I wasn't that familiar with other than writing backwards, but I've read now just insane amount about it, and it's to do with the frontal lobe of the brain. So I have a son that is very, very vocal and very outgoing, and it's not what I would have thought prior to having a dyslexic child. So I'm just really glad that Commissioner Cupid and I got the opportunity to talk and that we're bringing awareness on this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. And I'm Dr. Scott Hamilton. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm an administrator at the Howard School. And I thought the proclamation really captured a lot of the science of dyslexia really well. I thought that was really well written and really describes well what our students with dyslexia really struggle with. And a lot of people, you've probably heard the word before and hear dyslexia, and you immediately think about reversing letters or reading backwards. And that is one possible symptom of dyslexia. But dyslexia is broader than that. It really just means difficulty reading. And And our brains, for as wonderful as they are, there is no such thing as a reading part of the brain. Our brains are not naturally made to read. We have to basically take parts of the brain that were designed for other things and kind of co-opt those parts of the brain to make them what enables us to read. And some people can do that really easily, and for some people it's very, very difficult, and it has nothing to do with how smart they are or how hard they work or anything like that. It just is a process that is takes some time to learn how to do, and some people can do it very easily, and some people it's a real struggle for them. And so there are programs, and early intervention and identification is the key, and with our neuroscience knowledge, we're getting a lot smarter at figuring this out at a younger age, and you can make a lifetime of difference in children's lives when they are able to intervene when they're younger, in preschool and kindergarten age even. We can see some of the signs of this and intervene at those ages rather than waiting for them to fail later. And students with dyslexia can be very productive, very bright members of our society, and it's not something that will interfere with their ability to be productive adults. And the fact that we can intervene early and know these things now really makes a world of difference for these kids. And so I'm grateful for organizations like the International Dyslexia Association, the people that provide the services for people with dyslexia, to provide all the support and care for these kids to really help them be successful and to feel success in school. So thank you all for listening to us tonight about this, and we're thrilled that this is Dyslexia Awareness Month.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So this will be for you. Take a picture. Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good seeing you. Good seeing you too. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, excellent. Very good. Thank you. So some information he has about dyslexia that he wanted to share with everyone. Okay, thank you. All righty. We're going to delve more in the topic of education, and I am going to call up Cobb County's great debaters. If you can come join me up front here today, and also Miss Jennifer Siska, if you're here. How are you? Thank you for joining me here today. Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Okay, thank you so much. We will take it. Yeah. So I'm very excited to have these sharp young women and men up here today. He's representing. They have represented Cobb County very well as part of Harvard Debate Council's initiative here in Atlanta. And these students are from Cobb County schools. And 25 students from across Atlanta participated in this program with the Harvard Debate Council at Harvard University. So you guys have gone up to campus. 10 of the 12 Atlanta teams advanced to octofinals, 6 went on to the quarterfinals, while 2 teams from Atlanta competed in the semifinals. Cobb County had representation on those teams from Harrison High School, Wheeler, South Cobb, and Walton High School. The Harvard Debate Council Diversity Project is an Atlanta-based program that provides Black youth access and exposure to accelerated academic training in critical thinking, communication, and civic engagement. The Debate Council seeks to matriculate underrepresented students into the Harvard Debate Council summer residency at Harvard University. Founded in 2017, the council is a subsidiary of Harvard Debates Council at the university. Brandon Fleming, the assistant coach of debate at Harvard University, found this program as a pipeline to fulfill Harvard's desire to increase minority representation. And he organized an executive board comprised of Atlanta's influential community leaders and launched this initiative in fall 2017. In that inaugural year, over 150 students applied for this program. And in January of that year, 25 students were selected out of that 150 to make history by dominating the tournament at the Harvard Debate Council. Each summer, the council hosts their prestigious summer residential program at Harvard, where 400 students from across the world come and compete. Students undergo a daily 10-hour academic regimen, learning from highly accomplished debate professors and instructors who engage them through rigorous curricula centered on research, analysis, argumentation, and political science. I really don't know if there's any other activity that can stimulate the ability to communicate and to reason as much as debate can. And to learn this skill at such a young age is rather impressive. I understand 6 months prior, you took time to prepare for this competition, and not all of you were experienced in debate. Were any of you debaters prior? No, this was a first go round. Well, we really appreciate you guys stepping up to the plate and representing us very well. As an attorney, I know that this skill set can carry you into so many professions, but if you have interest in the legal profession, particularly in that arena, as you learn to not only argue your side, but to also understand the side of those who you are arguing with, it's good to be able to clarify your point. So I appreciate all that you're doing. We know that you are bright and shining stars here for Cobb County. As you progress in your career, we hope you report back to us and let us know how you're doing. And we just want to take some time to recognize you with a certificate tonight, if that's okay. All right, I'm going to call some names here. Jennifer, do you mind helping me? Thank you. You can just pass it. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, do we have, okay, then, not here. All right, do we have Allison McKinnis from Harrison High School? All right, thank you, Allison, for your accomplishments. You want to talk a little about your experience?
I came into this program as a junior with very little debate experience, but I had a lot of leadership experience. So over the 6 months, I was able to learn debate skills, and I debated against some of the top debaters in the entire world. And I was on one of the top teams that competed to advance to the top 10 teams at the Harvard Debate Council Summer Workshop.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, Audrey McNeil, are you here? Audrey, thank you so much and congratulations. You're welcome. And do you want to talk about your experience?
Yes. Okay. I did not have any debate experience either, but I did also have a lot of leadership. What I learned from the program, learning from Brandon Fleming, who was the assistant debate coach at Harvard, is that whenever you have a great teacher and you work really hard, you can accomplish very tremendous, amazing things. And so learning from other great teachers at Harvard was very, very interesting. I learned how to debate, philosophy, politics, socioeconomics, and other amazing subjects that really interest me. And I'm just excited to accept this award. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Very good. Thank you. Also, Sherrod Crumbs from South Cobb High School. Congratulations on your honor. And would you like to talk about your experience?
Sure. I attend South Cobb High School, and I entered this program with a little bit of debate experience under my belt. Being a part of this program was a life-changing experience. In fact, when I went to Harvard over the summer, I was paired with a student that didn't even know any English whatsoever, but we were still able to pull out some victories while there in competition. So it was a great program, and I was glad I was able to be a part of it.
And lastly, we have Adetomi Adarende from Wheeler High School. Congratulations on your honor. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Adetomi, and being a part of the Harvard Debate Council Diversity Project has been a life-changing experience. I came in with no debate experience at all, and I had a little bit of leadership experience, but being surrounded by excellent Black scholars who look like me and who are inspired by debate and want to go into different fields that we can use debate in all aspects of our lives, and it really inspired me just being around all these students and going to Harvard, which was just a life-changing experience, and being able to learn debate and win tournaments, which is good.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm excited that we have Jennifer Susko here today, who is a counselor with Cobb County Schools, who knew that we could not let this achievement pass without recognizing these young persons. Do you want to share anything with the audience?
Sure. I'm a school counselor right now. I work in an elementary school, but I work with some of these students in a social justice coalition group on the weekends. And I was a donor for the program. When I found out what Mr. Fleming was doing, I was just amazed. And the fact that they're part of the first group, they are the first group to do it. They made history. They won versus teams that have been doing this for such a long time makes me proud to know them, proud to get to be around them. And as you can hear when they speak, they're just fabulous students, and I love the program, I love them, and I'm so proud of you guys. So congratulations. And thank you, Commissioner Cupid.
Parents, you're more than welcome to come up and take a picture. Congratulations. Thank you again. Yes, please do. Thank you so much. One more presentation tonight, and it's keeping with the theme of education, if I can get some assistance here. And if I can have those who are our contest winners for anti-bullying come join me. Okay. Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. Also, if we can have their administrators who supported them and anyone from the organization also come join me up front here. All righty. So today we have some beautiful artwork that is presented in front of you and some beautiful students who are here. And they took part in anti-bullying contests that I sponsored with Telecom Professionals for Social Responsibility. I don't see anyone from Telecom Professionals. Please join us up front here, Ms. Carrington, yes. And we wanted to help encourage young persons to be mindful about what they can do to stop bullying. And the organization Telecom Professionals for Social Responsibility actually puts on programming to address this throughout the year. However, nationally, October is recognized as Anti-Bullying Month and provided a broader platform for us to address this with students across the county. So we were creative in how we thought young persons could participate and showcase before you. We have artwork from our elementary school winners here, and I'm going to award them tonight. We have a number of awards here. Let me just see if I can get through this. Okay. And our first place winner goes to Anna Arias of Hollydale. Thank you so much for doing such a great job. That's yours. And if you can show them which poster was yours. So you can see her poster here has beautiful colors. And one thing that we liked about her artwork is that not only did she draw something, but she actually had words in there instructing people about what they can do to stop bullying. And she also had encouraging words for those who were experiencing bullying. So we thank you for your leadership in the school and leading in this contest and addressing anti-bullying. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Olivia Rhodes, second place from Austell Elementary. Are you here tonight, Olivia? No? Okay, and do we have Whitney? Whitney, are you here? Whitney! Oh my, Whitney, great job. Please give this young lady a round of applause. Whitney didn't do just one poster, she did two. And if you see some lights that are glowing up here, it is her creativity, that thought that she can help highlight bullying by actually putting lights in the poster. So I can't believe that this young bundle of energy created that. Thank you so much for leading.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, she did an outstanding job of addressing this issue. Okay, next we have middle school winners, and they had an essay, and we want to recognize Zion Wilson for first place, and he represents from Floyd Middle School. Zion, congratulations. Thank you. Great job today. And next up, we have two for second place here. We have Miss Aaliyah Van Zant, also a Floyd. Aaliyah, are you here tonight? And Miss Nisa Harris. Okay. Okay, she's not here. And certainly third place, but not least, we have Giselle Macedo, also from Floyd Middle. Yes, congratulations. Thank you for your participation. All right, and we also have an honorable mention for Clarence Carrington. Clarence did an outstanding job. He is related to one of the members of Telecom for Professionals, for social responsibility, so at least we wanted to recognize him for the great work that he did. Now, what I'm really excited about is the participation that we had from high school. South Cobb High School had some teams put together videos to address anti-bullying. And we actually have these videos queued up, but what we're going to do is we're gonna award you tonight and then we'll watch the videos, all right? So for first place, we have Edit C, Video C of South Cobb High School. And this was produced by The Voice. And yes, thank you for your participation. Then Edit C Video A of South Cobb High School also received second place. They had multiple videos that were turned in. Would anybody to receive it? Thank you. And then Edit C Video D also received third place. And thank you for your work in putting this together. Thank you. Thank you. And then for honorable mention, again, we just had some outstanding videos. We want to recognize The Voice of South Cobb High School for your work in recognizing and what you can do to address bullying. Yeah, thank you. And also Video E of Edit C as well. So I'll let you take that. And awards on awards on awards. What we'll do is we'll queue up we'll queue up some of our videos so you can see some of the work that they did.
I'm okay. I got you. You shouldn't let them do you like that. I know. So if you have a squared plus 36 equals 40, then you subtract 36 from each side, so you get like 4.
Hey, Jasmine. Can we talk to you?
Sure.
We're sorry for earlier. We don't know what's going on for our kids.
It's cool, I guess.
Oh, we have plans this weekend at the spot. Want to join?
Sure, why not?
Yo, we just talked to Jasmine.
We pretending to apologize to her so we can set her up this weekend, bro.
Set her up?
Yeah.
You want me to help?
I want you to record it, bro.
I can do that. I got you.
Hello? Hey, is this Jasmine?
Yes, who is this?
This is Aaliyah. I was just letting you know that I just overheard them in the hallway talking about them like doing stuff to you at the spot. I was just letting you know, like, don't go. Like, don't go.
Okay, I won't go. Thank you. Hey, bro, where's she at?
I don't know. I told her to come here.
She's supposed to be here. I texted her. Come on.
I texted her too.
She's not coming.
Why?
Because I told her not to.
Why?
Because I overheard what you guys were gonna do to her. That's not cool.
That's none of your business.
Bullying ain't cool, y'all. Come on. You want me to go get an administrator? It's some of their business.
Man, whatever.
Whatever.
Let's go.
In the interest of time, we're not going to show all the videos, but the reason we selected this one because they not only showed what a student could be experiencing, but they showed different steps that students took to make the student first aware that they shouldn't be treated this way. I was amazed in talking to some students that students can be treated a certain way and not even realize that they're being treated in a way that is not acceptable. And sometimes if you don't have a high level of esteem, you may need peers around you to let you know that certain behavior just should not be tolerated. But one thing we also liked is that when a student did overhear, they took the time to reach out to that student and let them know that something bad was going to happen. Sometimes we can know bullying is going around and just be passive to that experience because nobody was talking to us particularly, or that didn't personally pertain to us, and somebody could end up being a victim of something that we had the ability to prevent. One thing that we liked also at the end of the video is that the students that also took time to reach out to that student about the bullying were willing to step up and stand up to those bullies, which is very important too, because sometimes when that behavior just rides, students think it's okay to continue that. And if they didn't do that, they would have just found another opportunity to go target that student. So I know this is a room full of adults here, but we hope that this can inspire you to have some conversation with your young persons at home to let them know that they can actually be engaged part of preventing bullying for their peers around them. And as we had discussion today, we also learned that bullying is not just taking place in our schools. Bullying really happens around all segments of our community, even among adults. You can see it in the workplace and everywhere. And hopefully this will inspire us to also not be passive about this as adults. Speaking of adults, we had some great adults that work with our young persons to help get them to this point, and I just wanted to give them a brief opportunity to speak. Yep. So we'll start here with telecom professionals.
Yes, I'm Barbara Carrington, and my organization is Telecom Professionals for Social Responsibility. And we have been doing anti-bullying programs in Cobb County for about 5 years now. We do a summer camp every summer from grades 1 through 5. The camp is free to the kids, and we do a week camp from 8 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the evening. And we not only talk about bullying, we talk about integrity, we talk about self-esteem, we talk about a lot of subjects all pertaining to that, even internet, being involved in the internet and how that can pull you in. So we have enjoyed our work here at Cobb County, and especially here this month, it's October, and letting these kids come in and show what they know about bullying and how they want to stand up and be a kid against bullying as well.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. And back here,
How you doing? My name is Marlon Young, and I am with More Than Conquerors Incorporated. We are a faith-based nonprofit that teaches life skills inside the schools. And a part of our program is the Voice Club, in which it's a student-led club in which they do monthly projects to bring awareness to things like bullying and domestic violence and so many other wonderful things that, well, not wonderful, but things that are wonderful for them to bring about so we can get awareness to the kids. And these are our leaders of the Voice Club. So they do such a wonderful job. All we do is support.
Good evening. I'm Teresa Hargret, the principal of Floyd Middle School in Mableton, and we want to thank Commissioner Cupid for honoring our students who were very expressive in putting an end to bullying. And they have many suggestions in their essays for anti-bullying practices, going beyond just reporting and supporting victims, but to also just express kindness to everyone at all times. So we thank you for giving our students the opportunity to express themselves and for honoring them tonight.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Strickland from More Than Conquerors Incorporated. Marlon kind of summed up the words for me, so just to say thank you to everyone, thank you to the Cobb County Commissioners, thank you to our young people, our excellent leaders of the future, and we just want to keep encouraging you guys to do excellent things. We really do believe in you.
Hello, my name is Keisha Crawford, and I am from Hollydale Elementary School. I am the Step It Up teacher there, and this is a new program that we have piloted at the school. And we deal with teaching children character building, integrity, social and emotional skills. And so October is a month that we already know is anti-bullying month, but we have a huge campaign at our school, and our kids have posters all around the school, and we do skits on the camera. We do as much as we can to bring out the awareness, and it's at any age. It's K through 5. It's even further than that, as we know, but we just try to make sure we equip them. And we have a lot of different things that we do to promote kindness. We have different secret societies on each grade. We have a random acts of kindness secret society. We have a garden planting secret society. We have Oscar winning, where we recognize people all around the school, because what we know about bullying is that sometimes when you have those bullies, many times it's because, and we call it, their buckets are empty. And so we try to transform that with kindness. And so we just want to say thank you so much, Commissioner Cupid, for acknowledging and for giving all of our children an opportunity to share what they know and to build their courage when it comes, because you have to have courage to fight bullying and to not be passive. So just thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you to all of our teachers, our students. So we're going to come in and take a picture. Yeah, but we can come in together and we'll all take a picture. And parents or any supporters, you are more than welcome to take a picture at this time. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go into our public hearing part of the meeting tonight. Start out with DOT. Erica Parrish has a public hearing on service modifications to all Cobb Link transit routes. Erica?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. We would like to request that the Board of Commissioners conduct a public hearing regarding proposed service modifications of all Cobb Link transit routes. The consultant has completed their evaluation of current Cobb Link transit services provided with the goals of improving reliability, increasing ridership, ensuring efficiencies, efficient use of county resources, and developing a strategic approach for future services. This resulting Cobb Link Forward service package was created to provide an overview of all proposed service modification recommendations. Proposed service modifications include changes to local and express bus schedules, routing, the addition of Sunday local bus service, the elimination of routes 10A, B, and C, and the addition of Route 10X. In addition, implementation of complementary Americans with Disabilities services related to the above proposed service modifications will be included to comply with ADA requirements. Public comments can be made via online survey, email, or phone through November 2nd of 2018, and we would like to request that the Board of Commissioners conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed service modifications on all Cobb Link transit service routes.
Okay, so here are the guidelines. Each speaker is allowed to speak for 3 minutes. Unlimited number of speakers, and if you'd get up here, when you come up here, would you please let us know who you are and where you live? We'd appreciate it. So with that, I now declare this public hearing open on the proposed service modifications of all Cobb Link transit routes. Is there anyone here who'd like to address the board? Okay, so you'll all get to speak, but you can come up first, sir, and then, but please don't stand in line because you're going to block the people behind you. So I'll just call you up, but I guarantee you'll all get to speak until all those that want to speak have had a chance to speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Kenneth Howell. I'm with the Georgia Community Coalition. And on the bus routes, our main concern is the Route 50 and the Route 45. And the reason for that concern is that rerouting those buses from coming up Fairground in the event of Sunday service cuts the service to Turner Chapel Church. It also cuts the service to the rec center and park that are on Fairground. That is also a low-income community that has a lot of ridership. The problem, as we talked about in the TAB meeting, is keeping that bus on schedule. The problem is not on this end of the Route 50. The problem is in the Cumberland area of the Route 50, Delk Road, and Powell's Ferry. That is where the heavy traffic is. And also with going down Franklin Road with the new soccer or football stadium that is over there. That is where the problem is. We don't want to cut Sunday service to Turner Chapel or to that community. Turner Chapel plays a big role in our communities, so we don't want to cut service to them. The 45 also services the front side of Turner Chapel. And if that bus is rerouted, then it's going to take away that service. We ask that you reconsider those route changes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Howell.
Could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Kenneth, were you able to get that information we talked about?
I had a meeting scheduled with Reverend Tearaway last Monday. There was a death and he had to go out of town. I met with him today at 4, and he assured me he would have all that information for me by the 19th before the next tab.
Okay, yeah, just as soon as you get it, just send it to me or bring it over.
Sure thing,
Thanks.
No problem, Commissioner.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Lisa Amicus. I'm a paratransit rider. I've been using the bus for 10 years. The one consideration we would like you to make, and I also live in Marietta, Commissioner Joanne's district, right off of Bells Ferry Road. The 40 route you guys are talking about cutting off the end right behind the college. We hope you can reconsider that, because we have a lot of paratransit riders back there, but also a lot of people get dropped off at those bus stops because they have to walk to work at Wade Green Road. That's one of the problems that we are having right now. Another is the dispatchers at paratransit office keep on cutting our trips off without calling us, and the schedulers are getting our trips wrong, and we have to repeat ourselves 3 times before they get it right. Or Miss Diane or Mr. George, who are dispatchers for the, when you call in to find out where your bus is, they have to fix it for us. Also, we are also concerned about our safety at the transfer center. We're having to bring pepper spray and weapons with us now because we have been attacked by the homeless people, as well as some guys pushing drugs in our faces.
Have you let the police know about this?
We've been trying to we let supervisors know about it, and nobody's doing anything
All
about
right.
it.
Where's Mike Register? All right, or Sam, I want you to talk to Sam Heaton in the back, all right? And I want this fixed.
Yeah, but what they're doing over there is taking up the 40 route stalls over there at
I
the transfer
understand
center.
that, but our police are very, very good about this, but they have to know about it.
Yeah.
So we can make sure that we make the proper adjustments. So if you talk to Mr. Heaton in the back there,
Yeah,
the safety thing is a more paramount concern to me than the bus route right now.
yeah.
All right, but I get your part, and we'll also talk to Ms. Ford about the paratransit dispatchers.
Okay.
I appreciate you bringing those concerns to our attention tonight. Thank you. Sam, will you take care of Lisa, please? Thank you. That's all right. That's exactly right.
My name is Stacy Hare, and I live off of Powers Ferry Drive in Marietta. And what I want to talk about is a part of this Cobb Forward plan that hasn't really received much attention, and that's the elimination of the service to downtown Atlanta. For at least 22 years, Cobb Transit has been able to maintain regular weekday service to downtown Atlanta during the morning and evening rush hours on express routes 100 originating in Town Center and 101 originating at the Marietta Transfer Center. I've been riding Route 101 nearly every weekday for 15 years. I have colleagues who've been riding it even longer, since 1996. In fact, there are dozens and dozens of Cobb County residents who rely on the downtown service to get to work every day. I suspect that we are Cobb Link's longest standing and most loyal riders. And we work at places such as Georgia Pacific, among other high-rise office buildings along Peachtree Street, Georgia State University, and riders include administrators, faculty, and students, the State of Georgia Government Towers, the Capitol, Atlanta City Hall, the Fulton County Courthouse, and all 3 federal buildings along Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, where you can find regional offices for almost every federal agency you can name, including the federal courts. And then those were the regular riders. There are also the seasonal riders. About quarterly, we have a group of people who stay in Cobb County but go to the markets at America's Mart. And I think these are people who stay in hotels in Cobb County knowing that they can get to America's Mart on this bus route, and we see them regularly. We also see the people who show up when the gas prices rise. A few years ago, when prices were really high, these buses were standing room only. So yes, ridership comes and goes. There's fewer people in the summer when school is out. There are more people when there's an accident on the interstate, but this is an important route. All these places I've named are currently served by the downtown loop that Cobb Transit has been making for decades. The Cobb Forward plan proposes to eliminate that service, instead taking passengers only so far as the Civic Center MARTA station in Midtown, leaving Cobb residents to walk several blocks, brave MARTA, or find some other way to get downtown. And the only justification I've seen for eliminating this downtown route was more reliable trip times. Well, more reliable for who? Maybe for your bus drivers, certainly not for your riders. Take me, for example. I would have been long dropped off at my bus stop in the time it would take me to descend into MARTA at the Civic Center stop, wait up to 10 minutes for a train, that's if things aren't delayed on the MARTA tracks, make my way back to the surface out of the depths of the 5 Points MARTA station, and then walk to my office building. If you make this change to the downtown loop, my trip time is going to become far less reliable.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
then
Hare.
what about the cost? Is my time up?
That's your time.
But I have one question. Were you contacted by the survey team, you or your fellow writers? You seem like there's a cadre of people that use this route regularly.
Yeah, there's a core group of us who
Okay,
ride
so
every day.
were they contacted by this survey team that you're aware of?
I certainly wasn't
All right,
contacted.
do me a favor. Could you get, work with them and get back to me about how many roughly people ride this route that were not contacted by this survey team? Could you do that for me? Because the reason I'm asking is we spent a lot of money on this survey, and it strikes me as being a little interesting that the hardcore riders who use this thing on a regular basis weren't contacted. So there's something amiss here, and I'm trying to figure out what the issue is.
Okay, and so who should I work with?
You can contact me, all right? Mike.boyce@cobbcounty.org.
Okay.
All right? Or the commissioner here of DOT liaison, Commissioner Ott. But I'd like to know, if you get a rough head count, I don't need to know their names, but you've made some serious issues here about the regular riders have not been contacted by the survey team, and we spent $600,000 on their survey, and I'd like to know how we missed you, since your concerns to be very, very well addressed, and you've been very articulate about your concerns.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could we, it's not going to cut into people's time, but Eric, I know you're back there. Do you know, did the survey team talk to these folks?
Eric Meyer, Cobb DOT. Yes, the survey team visited the park and rides for each Route 100, 101, and 102. And actually this morning, we placed additional information in each chair of all the routes to make sure they were aware of what was going on. At the very beginning, though, in the survey, we distributed surveys to basically 100% of the riders and got a response rate around 2,300, which is about 25% of the ridership.
Well, I still want to find out why it is. I'm going to give her a chance.
Yes.
All right, she's made some pretty serious allegations here.
And we've received a number of comments from the express bus riders about that circulation, so that's why we do the public comments, and maybe that's something we keep the way it is.
Send those to the chairman and myself,
Yes.
if you can. Okay. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Eric.
Anything else?
Good evening. My name is Stephen Carlin. I live in East Cobb. More importantly, I work downtown in the 191 building. I ride both the 100 and the 101. Just talked with the previous speaker who I know from the buses. There was a survey about a year ago. It had nothing to do with, there was nothing in the survey about changes to the route. It was just, where do you work? Where do you, information about our ride. My concerns with this change, and I've talked to many of the core riders, as she mentioned, that many of us are just tired of the reliability, tired of the excuses, tired of the customer service, tired of rude drivers and supervisors. And this is just one more nail in the coffin that's going to make us stop riding. I've been riding the Cobb County Transit for 9 years now. And I've had many conversations with customer service about missed buses, about missed routes, buses not showing up. The technology is horrible, unreliable. I'll pull out my phone and people go, I don't even bother anymore. The entire Cobb County Transit, or the Cobb Link system service for downtown over the last few years has just gone downhill. It's horrible. It's unreliable. It's the new buses they've been running city street buses to the downtown. We're riding on plastic seats and seats that are sideways on 85 or 75. If something happens and slam on a bus, there's no safety. People will go flying off. The decisions that the CobbLink executives have made lately have just been mind-blowing. We just don't understand them. But cutting off the downtown circulation is really going to kill the express bus ridership. It's just going to, there's no reliability with MARTA. They mentioned a reciprocal ridership with MARTA, but how's that going to work when I buy a 20 ride pass? I don't buy individual or like monthly passes to get on the Cobb County Transit. How's that going to work, me getting on MARTA to ride back up to Civic Center? It's just too many obstacles and too many variables that just can't count on anymore. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and I appreciate your comments. I hate to ask this, but the reason we're doing this survey is to find out exactly what the issues are, okay? But clearly, we got some issues here. I'm not trying to make this a perfect definition of a perfect survey, but that's why we have these public hearings, so you can bring this directly to the board and not have to go through some third party.
I will say there was today on the buses, they handed out this flyer about the proposed changes. There's nothing on here about this meeting tonight. The only reason I saw it was from an email from Commissioner Barrell about 3 weeks ago.
All right.
It just happened to catch it and talked to several people about it on the bus, and everybody went, never heard about it, haven't heard about the changes, haven't heard about anything going on.
Okay.
Until this morning.
I appreciate that comment. Thank you, sir.
My name's Lori Strout, and I'm from Mostel. And I'm on the 25. If you change it, it makes my my walk 3 hours to get onto another bus. That's all I got to say. Please don't change the route. If you do, adding more buses wouldn't hurt. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Jorge Williams, and I've been riding the 50 bus for almost 25 years. I initially just came here to simply speak about the possibility of Sunday service. Not to keep a lot of time, take a lot of time out. I simply want to just share a real brief story. My wife and I arrived here approximately 25 years ago. We left our beloved New York City to help our daughter realize a change in environment, to have a suburban lifestyle. And for the most part, we've enjoyed living in Cobb County. The one thing I've always had a problem with was public transportation. Mentioning that I was from New York City, you can naturally be aware of the fact that I was going from, I would say, the greatest public transportation system in the world. And I had no great expectations of coming to a suburban environment and receiving the same type of service. However, I was appalled with the fact that there was not Sunday service. There is no imaginable excuse for a city, and let's face it, Marietta and Cobb County is part of the greater Atlanta area. And everyone is aware of Atlanta outside of our own environment. And every conversation that I've had when I do return to New York City is, are you kidding me? There's no Sunday buses. And I've heard every single type of excuse given. There's no ridership. Now, someone's referenced the fact of a survey. As I mentioned, I've started riding 25 years ago. My daughter was in the second grade. I'm now a grandfather. I'm now retired. As you can see, gray hair is setting in as well. So I went from a 40-something to a senior, and there's still no Sunday service. I would love to, and the funny thing about it is, and I shared this with my wife before coming here, the first time I stood before this commission was 25 years ago. Bill Clinton's administration was there. And of course, now we are where we are, and there is still no Sunday service. I would love for any one of you to share with me a reasonable excuse for why Cobb County does not have one. And that's all I have.
We just approved, sir.
Yes.
We just approved Sunday service for this year's budget.
25 years after the fact.
So,
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
And you can say you did it.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Tom Sawyer, yes, like the book, and I work for Tip Top Poultry. I'm sure give you a short history lesson, and then I'll get on to this. We've been in the Cobb County area for almost 70 years. The great A.L. Burris, whose name is on every building in the county, and his son Robin Burris have run that. He had a great saying that we're here to do more than just pluck chickens, which is what we do. Our purpose statement says we're here to honor God in the way we treat our employees. I say that to talk about the 50 and the changes, the addition of the 45. We've worked for years to try and get a stop. We love Cobb Link and love public transportation. It's just too far from our plant. We sat down quickly. Robin and I sat down with Andrea Ford and Matt Bristol, and at that time Vita Covington, who was the general manager. We worked out a route. It was approved. Matt drove a bus that went down Roswell and gave us a stop pretty close. I thought that was still on the books. I met with Andrea Ford, Brad, Brestbus' current owner, and I met with Andrea Ford, Matt, and thought that was still on. I just got the map a couple of weeks ago and find that it's not on there, that changes are made. So I don't know if you got actual data I gave Andrea. She was going to give to you some geomapping that shows you where our employees are. 75% of our employees are in Cobb County. I do my own surveys because our population of people don't do surveys on buses. They're suspicious of anybody and anything. And so I do an annual survey to talk about transportation, other issues. Interestingly enough, our first proclamation tonight was for the accountability courts and the great work that they do. We are great partners with the accountability courts. Did you receive a letter from Judge Green signed by all the judges talking about, so I don't need to go into that any further. We just need to stop closer than less than a mile away. It's dangerous early in the morning, very dangerous for women to walk across 75, the darkness. It's cold in the wintertime, 20 degrees. When it's raining, it's awful. We try to pick them up at 6:10, 6:15. I'm asking you to please consider taking an extra 3 minutes and making a little turn and going to Woolco Drive and Gresham and giving us a stop that's a little bit closer. These are the people, the invisible people, the people you don't know, the people you don't see, but they depend on that transportation. Also, we partner with the
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the TCs anyway, and the judge.
Sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Commissioner, I'll start with Commissioner Burrow first. Commissioner Rudd.
Yes, ma'am.
We are working on that, but of the 75% of your employees, you say use the transit?
75% of our employees live in Cobb County. I actually.
Do you have an idea of who?
Yeah, I actually provided a whole survey with results. I'd love to give these to you. Okay. These are my surveys and geomapping, and I'd given these to Andrea several weeks ago in hopes that they'd get to you. So I can.
Yeah, you can just give them to the clerk and we'll get a copy.
Make sure that'll have all that, but there was a large, I don't remember the exact amount, and I do it every year. I did it previous year, and this year it's 40 to 50%. And then those that drive, if we had a stop that was closer, said that they would ride. So the way we do surveys is we sit when they get in there with a biscuit and a cup of coffee, and they feel better.
Mr. Sawyer, I'd be happy to know that the county manager and I just met with the interim DOT director before this meeting, and one of the things I asked her to do was to go back and revisit looking at the 45 or the 50 to try to get service to Tip Top.
That'd be awesome.
we just had that conversation about an hour and a half ago.
Well, you probably know a lot of the people that I work for and with, and they would be so appreciative. This has been something we've desired to do, not for us. I mean, I drive my car.
So like I said, we just had that conversation like a little while ago.
Well, my card is in there also. If there's anything you need to contact me on, or you want to meet with anyone or anyone at Tip Top, we are ready to do that.
Okay. And I had reached out to Matt too, previously.
Matt Bristol?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I've lost contact with Matt. He's moved onward and upward, I think.
Really?
Yeah, Andrea's been great, and Vita was great while she was here.
The other question I have, do you
Yes,
do shift work?
Three shifts.
So your workers get on and off about the same time? That's the only question I have.
They get on. They get on and off all day.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So it's all day long.
And I think I have some shift times in there.
Okay.
Some pertinent information on the. You'll see the geomapping that I did, and I think that's on the bottom of that map.
Right.
And not to mention that there's probably 1,000 or 2,000 people in the neighborhoods and apartments back there that nobody really understands are back there. We see them walking the sidewalks all the time, so. We love Cobb Link, though. We love the transportation. It helps us out tremendously, and it helps those people who've been in the system, and we hire people that other people won't hire. And public transportation is a part of that plus for them.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Great. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Good evening. I'm Pat Stevenson. I'm the president of Empire Distributors. We are, it's my teammate here, Philando Zachary. He's our director of human resources for Empire Distributors. We're been in Fulton County since the 1940s. We employ about 492 people in our facility. We're moving to Cobb County in February. We'll be building a new warehouse, 600,000 square feet. It's actually built. We're finishing it up. It's at 685 Hartman Road. And if you look in our review, we run 3 shifts. We're 6 days a week, 6 a.m. to 2, 2 the afternoon, evening, 8 p.m. to 3 in the morning. And about a third of our teammates rely on public transportation. We were blessed in Fulton County with a public transit stop right at our front door. And now we're looking at a situation when we move in February, we'll need some assistance if we can look at that. In our review of the stops, looking at Route 25 and Route 30, there's significant overlap on 25 and 30 from Riverside up to Factory Shoals, and aren't any stops except for Six Flags below I-20. And that below I-20 is a lot of growth. Obviously we know where Douglas County is and we get all that, but when you really look from Riverside to Factory Shoals, up Hartman Road, we're one 600,000 square foot warehouse. There's 3 other ones, and there's 5 in development that'll be done in the next 4 months. So if you look at our teammates alone, just right at the corner of Factory Shoals and Hartman, it's a significant walk. We mapped it for our teammates, Six Flags routes over 2 miles, and pretty much straight uphill up Hartman Road, and then from the Dollar General right there at Riverside on the north side of 20, would require a lot of them to walk over down Factory Shoals across I-20. And we're fine with a short walk, an insignificant walk, but that distance at those hours of the evening and early mornings, we believe for our teammates is a significant challenge. So we would be really appreciative if we could get some support. And looking at something south, we looked at it and just, obviously we're not experts, we're not transportation gurus in that sense, but we looked at it from the overlap of 25 and 30. If 25 or 30 would have cut south on Riverside and come back down and come up 685 Hartman to Factory Shoals and north, you wouldn't lose any stops you'd still have service to all the stops currently in the plan, and you'd be able to significantly impact everybody on the south side of 20. So we think that's something to look at. We're filling out the surveys. We're having all of our teammates fill out the surveys as well. So any of those ideas, that's just something we came up with, but we'd love the idea of getting some service down that area come next year.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'll leave my cards if there's any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, and just, because you're coming in new, I mean, you caught between a rock and a hard place. You just got in here, we're still doing the survey.
Yeah.
So the good news is we're gonna be able to adapt to it now. If you'd have come down a year later, it might have been more of a challenge.
No, that we started about 5 months ago when we
Right.
finished new in our destination plan
Sure.
was, and you'll see us at the monthly meetings.
Well, I'm pretty sure we're gonna be addressing some of your concerns.
We've talked to Andrea also, so we
Okay.
understand. We've been on the phone with her also.
Well, I'm glad you're here tonight. Thank you for coming,
Thank you for
both
the
of you.
support.
Just a comment, Chairman.
Sure.
It's a grave misfortune that there are no buses that go into the industrial area in the Six Flags area. Not one bus stop. And you're talking about residents who are walking, some of them 3 miles to get to robust industrial businesses that are there. And we've worked with the past 2 transit directors looking at something akin to a 30X route. They have a 10X route that services that will service the universities if this moves forward. But for us to be continually strengthening the industrial and logistics properties down there, to not have a route that reliably takes people in there, it just behooves me. One satisfying consideration is that there is possibility for there to be an on-demand service where Lyft and Uber would be provided in a significant portion of the southern end of the county, inclusive of that industrial area. So what could be done through what's being proposed is that riders could get into the zone where that will be provided and then have that on-demand service take them to the door of the business. And so I see that hoping to offset this and being more flexible. My only concern with that is that the hours of that service I think is to be limited. I don't know if it's to mirror the regular routes that we have. So Chairman, if you're sensitive to this, I would just ask that we look at this, because even though Empire is new, this has been a long-standing issue for the number of businesses that are south of I-20.
I can add, we reached out to all the businesses in the area.
Well, that's the purpose of the survey, why we're doing all this. So I think this is all going to be brought in, and all the commissioners are sensitive to their areas of the county. And we all know that we're still a long way from producing a final map, and the comments tonight clearly show that. Sure.
Yeah, along with Commissioner Cupid's comments, I mean, it's not just South Cobb. I mean, there's industrial parks all over my district in Ackworth, Kennesaw, Cobb Parkway, Ackworth Industrial. None of them have bus services either. So it amazes me that we do surveys and we don't look where our employment centers are and try to get buses to them instead of looking at routes that may be needed for other reasons, I don't know. But in any case, buses should go to where the employees need to go, not where we want to take the buses.
And that's the beauty of the public hearing here, is that a lot of these issues being brought to the ears of the commissioners, and it won't be a third party. You're hearing the concerns of your constituents. And like I said, we're a long way from a final product based on what I'm hearing tonight. Yes, ma'am, please.
I was wanting to know if the best transportation in that will go down all the way down to Atlanta, down the other opposite side of Atlanta Road. Like down where Browner Hospital is, down that direction. As there's a lot of people don't have best transportation on that way either.
On Atlanta Road, you're talking about down by Browner Hall?
Yeah, but down that way and that, but they don't have the big buses or whatever to go that direction.
Yeah, I thought where is Andrea here? I thought we had a route that went down Atlanta Road past Browner Hall. Because Mayor Bacon was always yelling at me that his buses are blocking him. Our buses are blocking him. Okay, all right. Well, clearly, I'm glad you brought that up. We'll be looking at that too.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You bet.
Mr. Chairman, can I kind of interject here?
Sure.
I know that there's a lot of requests for new service and things like that. One of the things that the folks at CobbLink are trying to do is take a look at what is existing today and make sure that it's the best use of the resources, but not to just immediately just throw new routes out there, because there are issues. You know, I know about the issue with the 100 and the 101. And, you know, some of these other issues, we've discussed it at the TAB, we've discussed it with Andrea, and so the survey was that the initial results were to kind of take a look at what service there is today and try to make that better. It's not perfect, and then move from there. As you all know, with House Bill 930, the creation of the ATL, the board has to work through that. There's also House Bill 170. So this was an attempt to take the system that we have now and make sure that it's being used the best way. And I know, you know, like Tip Top and some of these other things, those have been discussions, but that the first shot at this was to try to tweak what was already operating. And, you know, obviously there's going to be some concerns. And so I don't want us to get too far ahead of where, you know, what the survey did.
Okay. Do we have anybody else that'd like to comment on this? Please come on up, Mr. Howell. Bring your friend with you. And we have a microphone for her.
Hello.
Good evening.
I've been riding the bus for 25 years since I've been in Cobb County, and I would like to receive that Sunday service, please start, because we do need it. And the way the paratransit goes, like half of a mile, sometimes we need it to go a little bit farther than what we've been having. And I want to see if you can extend the time and the area as long as, you know, the bus route, even though the bus route is one route, and then you say you only go like 2.5 of a mile, sometimes we need to go a little bit longer. Just like sometimes I work at Woodlock, and we have a bus coming out of Marietta Square and Starbucks. The bus can't even go that far, but we need that bus on the paratransit. And it costly driving the cab, driving Uber, or whatever the case may be. We just want to know if you can extend that route along with the route that we already have.
Okay, well, we'll certainly look at that. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
And the thing about paratransit, and it's been difficult, especially in East Cobb, where there used to be a bus route and now there wasn't. The distances that you're talking about with paratransit is regulated by the federal government, which are the ones that paid for the buses. And so that's always been a difficulty in that distance. And so one of the things that additionally that we've been looking at is how to give the service that the folks on the paratransit system need within the confines of what is legal.
I mean, we already paying $100 a month. We already paying 60, and you
No,
know.
I understand, and it's been
paying
one of those
as
things
much.
that's been difficult to deal with.
And just to clarify, you know, we are required federally to provide an additional distance or buffer from existing routes, but we aren't limited to that from a legal perspective. We're limited from a financial perspective.
So how can we change that?
General fund money, we pay more, we have tax.
So
Well,
if we
certainly-
get, so is it affect by we having bus service on Sunday? So you're talking about, even though we're gonna have bus service, probably have bus service on Sunday, so you're saying we can't use the money coming from that?
Well, I can't provide you with an answer right now because we're not looked at all the options, but.
But we need the services, the big
But
bus and the little bus.
we're not the only recourse for these options, all right? You have congressional representatives that can help us by providing us additional resources. You know, we have 3 congressmen who live who work for Cobb County, and they're an avenue that you can seek to see if they can help us with this problem. General fund is certainly an option, but the general fund already provides $19 million to subsidize the Cobb Link system. So it's a substantial amount of the taxpayers' money to go to provide this system, and they're not going to be everything to everybody. But I hear your concern. It's been, well, you know, we've got it on record here, and we'll do what we can do, but we can't be everything to everybody.
Okay, let me ask you about the buses that we driving. The bus, I'm a bus rider for the paratransit. The new routes, the new buses, but they got the lift, is unsafe. I don't like it. It has tore up my chair 3 or 4 or 5 times. I'm not comfortable with that route, with the bus.
With the new buses.
Right, I am not comfortable.
Well,
Because the lift is too far. It's like an incline, and then I have to get a speed to get up on the bus. It's still not safe.
all right, so where do you live in Cobb County?
I live in South Cobb and Austell, Roberta.
All right, so I'd like you to work with Commissioner Cupid here. She's your commissioner, all right, about this issue, and we'll see what we can do to help you on that regard, all right?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I promise you I'll look at those.
Chairman, I would
buses
just ask if there's someone here from DOT or Transit to be able to get her information and reach out to her and
Sure.
CC me.
Yeah, Eric's back there.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Howell. Hearing's still open. I haven't closed it yet.
Hi, I live in Marietta, and I mainly use the 50 and
What's your name?
Elizabeth. This is actually the first time I've ever been to a meeting like this.
Okay, we're glad you're here.
Thank you. But I just want to say that I'm really excited about the possibility of Sunday service because I do a lot of volunteering and I'm currently kind of in between employment stuff. And I know I've had to either turn down opportunities or scramble to find a friend that'll give me a ride just because there's no Sunday service. So Sunday service will greatly increase my opportunities both with employment and also volunteering and whatnot. I also want to add that if y'all ever consider adding new routes, that bringing back the 65, because I used to ride that all the time when it was around, but it hasn't been around in a minute. So, and that was the only route that went to East Cobb. So, I feel like that would bring some opportunities and whatnot, especially for employment, since there's a lot of businesses down there and whatnot. So,
All right. Thank you for your time. Hello.
My name is Gerda Franklin.
Hello,
I
Ms.
live in
Franklin.
Kennesaw in Cobb County. And I am about 5 blocks away from my church, 3 blocks away from the bank and the shopping center. But I can't go because you have no transportation on Way Green Road. Where I live, that's where they cut off and go back the other way. Are there any way that I can, there are apartment buildings with people in it, senior citizen, and then there's another apartment building where there's a combination of seniors and residents. I'm quite sure they could use going to Way Green Road, but there's no bus line on there. And it costs the people to go way out of their way to shop, way out of their way to church, or wherever they have to go. They cannot go to Way Green Road, which is about 2 blocks away. But I can ride all the way from George Busby to Windy Hill, but I can't go 2 blocks. It's a problem for especially the seniors.
Yeah, I hear you, and the answer is I don't know right now, okay? Because we're hearing comments tonight, and we're still a long way from making any decisions, but we hear your concern, and we'll certainly take those under advisement, but I'm not gonna sit here and make a promise to you.
I know, but I'm bringing awareness.
I appreciate that, thank you very much. And I appreciate you coming out tonight.
Thank
You know, coming all the way down here.
Oh, and thanks for the Sunday service.
You're welcome.
Can I come back up as I did not use all my?
No, you had your one chance.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. How are you all doing today?
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Gary, and I see your proposal, and I read through it and all. So one of my concerns that I want to ask is about the TNR zone, the Transportation Network Zone. So, and essentially, basically, just correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, in that area, it's going to combine to a bigger and also service a little bit more portion of South Cobb. And that'll be subsidized through a third-party carrier, whether it be Uber or Lyft or so forth. So is that set in stone that that's?
No, nothing's set in stone yet. We're just simply in the review process right now, looking at all the options. That's certainly one that's on the table and been very actively discussed. So you can probably be assured that some form of that is probably going to come out to fruition. We're just a matter of trying to figure out the best way to do that because we want to continue the flex service, all right, that they provided. We realize it's not the best approach. There may be something, an alternative that can give you more service for a more reasonable amount. So the answer is no, not right now, but we're in active discussion about that, and it's very much on the table.
Okay, awesome. Another idea that I want to bring up possible, the population difference, back in East Cobb, around Roswell Road area, there used to be a previous route to 65 and other stuff, and it was the ridership and that's was the issue. But now, 10 years later, there's a lot more businesses and districts that's grown around that corridor that could connect to Johnson Ferry Road and to the Dunwoody Market Station. Is it maybe an ideal, maybe like a flex service? Because I know fixed route big bus service is more expensive, but maybe as a trial run, because there are other counties like Gwinnett County, they just launched their on-demand micro transit area where there was service previously was, and they're trying out for 6 months as a pilot, and they're going to evaluate that. So maybe that's an idea possible in East Cobb area on Rossboro Road, Johnson Ferry. There could be like a kind of like a flex service what's currently in phase now.
Yeah, clearly tonight, we're the comments with regard to the survey, all right? But we're hearing from people who've come tonight that we may want to look at expanding the service, all right? I understand that. That involves another whole process, because quite honestly, every single route that we have here involves buses, and that involves federal support.
Yes.
And I'm not even talking about the subsidies, subsidizing the system that goes beyond what the federal government gives us.
Correct.
So I wish, once you start attaching yourself to a federal program, the strings are longer than a Christmas tree, a set of lights. So the bottom line is, well, we hear you, and we hear other people tonight too, that we may want to look at, a bigger issue than just the current survey and the current system, and see how we can make it better. And we'll take that on and see what happens here in the future.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time,
right.
Chairman, and other commissioners. Thank you as well.
Thank you for coming tonight, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to discuss, make their point of view known about this topic? One last chance. Okay, and I now declare this public hearing closed on the proposed service modifications to Cobb Link transit routes. Let's take a short break here. Let's say 9 minutes.
You wasted a minute, well, how many times we're gonna
Well, there's a breakdown. Okay, we're back from our break, and now to our second public hearing, which is to conduct, solicit comments and input on proposed code amendments. So with that, Dana, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dana Johnson, Cobb County Community Development, here to present the items for consideration for code amendments. This is your second public hearing. The first public hearing occurred on September the 25th at 7:00 p.m. And at the conclusion of today's public hearing, the board may, at their leisure, approve any may consider any of the items for approval, and the board certainly may modify any of the items prior to the approval, which is part of their normal standard operating procedures of the Board of Commissioners. Briefly, we will go over each one of the code amendments, and I will read into the record some of the changes that occurred between version 1 and version 2 of the code amendments. For this particular version, we have some changes to Chapter 250, 54, 58, 122, and 134 of the Cobb County Code. In Chapter 2, this is under the Economic Development Film Permit section. In this particular section, we are really adding some language to the purpose statement to let it be known that the film permits being issued and the cost for that covers the full spectrum of services provided for a film permit from the day they reach out to Cobb Travel and Tourism and start the process for finding a location in Cobb County, all the way through to our Public Safety Department doing road closures, or our fire marshal dealing with explosives on a film set. So they kind of see the full spectrum of activity from that first reach out to Holly and her team at Cobb Travel and Tourism all the way through the county and their involvement. Under Chapter 50 is the environment. This is changes to Chapter 50-52 under the violations section. This is for the Chattahoochee River Corridor Tributary Protection Act. This is really adding some additional teeth to this particular ordinance. We've had a number of instances of people who have gone in and did illegal buffer alterations, and this is going to provide us some additional language to issue stop work orders and provide some means for replanting in those areas where buffers have been violated. There has been a minor verbiage change in this particular section of the code, but nothing that substantially changes the content. Chapter 54 is 5454-2. This is operational permits. This is the start of a larger code amendment that our Public Safety Department will be bringing forward on the next few rounds of code amendments to really just set in place some procedures for operational permits for special events and things of that nature. Chapter 58 is for our water department. This is in the flood section of the ordinance. 58-26, this is some changes to some definitions, some redoing of the definition of the word building, and then finally a change to the definition of the lowest floor, which incorporates some additional language pursuant to some federal guidelines. 58-32 strikes out some language that provided some exclusions to lands that would be applicable to this ordinance, which would mean that all areas of unincorporated Cobb County would be applicable to the flood ordinance. 58-70 is the general standards on the provisions for flood hazard reduction. In this particular area of the ordinance, it is setting it clear that areas that build in floodplain need to meet certain specifications that are already laid out in the code. And this is regardless if it's work on an existing structure or a new construction that is occurring to a structure. Under 122, this is the utilities section of the ordinance for water and wastewater systems. This just removes some classification language about minor or major as it relates to discharge violations to stay consistent within our ordinance. Chapter 134 is the zoning ordinance. The first alteration is to amend the definition of eating and drinking establishments. In this, we are incorporating language from the Georgia Department of Revenue as it relates to brew pubs, so that brew pubs would be allowed in eating and drinking establishments, which means if you were to brew beer and sell your beer on site, as long as you had a restaurant there, that would be allowed and would be considered an eating and drinking establishment. 134-206 are changes to the RM12 code. There were some substantial changes to this particular version. The first item of change, I'm going to switch my memo here real quick. We moved some language dealing with workforce housing incentive. We added a maximum height limit for the residential structures here. We incorporated some language there were a number of provisions that stated what needed to be in the back of the buildings if the front setback was reduced, and we just added air conditioning units to that series of it. And then we added some language requiring some site plan specific requirements to be approved by the Board of Commissioners prior to any of these being constructed. Lastly, we have 134-217, which is a planned village commercial district. And we are recommending the reduction of the minimum tract size from 50 acres down to 25 acres. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would ask if you would please open the second public hearing on code amendments. And at the conclusion of the hearing, I'll be happy to talk to the board about any of the changes contained in the document. If I am not able to answer it, there are plenty of county staff here that will assist in that matter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dana. All right. We'll go down the board here first. Commissioner Cupid.
I just have a question, because I'm not, if you have a public hearing, I just have a brief question on clarification. This is not comment, Chairman. This is just a question. The section that pertains to workforce housing, what section?
That was in the RM12 section of the code. Hold on one second, Commissioner.
Yes,
let me get to that real quick.
If you can give me the subsection, I see the
134-206, and it was previously in subsection. It was previously in subsection B, but because of it being removed, that whole section got renumbered.
So it's removed. It's not.
It is currently removed right now, but certainly the board is responsible for any policy amendment.
Okay, so that'll be tabled for later
Right,
consideration.
because we didn't get a chance.
Just wanted to make sure.
We didn't get a
Okay.
chance to talk about it at work session
Sure.
yesterday, and until we have a full discussion by the board.
Okay.
It wasn't fair to bring it forth for a vote.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So are we discussing this? Are we voting on this RM12 tonight?
The parts of it.
Right, what happened was that the changes that were needed to allow detached are still here. And those changes, deal with setbacks and minimum lot sizes and all that. The only thing that was removed was the reference to the density bonus if you had workforce housing.
Right.
So any reference to workforce housing was removed,
Right.
but the changes that were necessary to allow detached RM12 that's what's still here. That part hasn't changed.
Right.
And we incorporated the height limits and things of that nature.
Okay, so the same criteria, unlimited number of speakers, 3 minutes per speaker. If you let us know who you are and where you live, we'd appreciate it. So with that, I now declare this second public hearing open to solicit comments and input on the proposed code amendments.
Good evening. I'm Frank Savini. I'm the president of the Cobb County Civic Coalition. It's a pleasure to be here. We have just a few minor suggestions and a couple questions that we, going through our board meeting, discovered a couple things. One, in section 58-32, the last paragraph that starts with the sentence, "No structure or land shall be located." We feel like the word land should come out of there because land is located where it is, and have a separate sentence that really addresses the land as it pertains to this language. We also feel, moving forward on to the next page, where we're dealing with non-residential buildings in regards to the floodplain, where it's mandated that the must be designed to be watertight. In that same sentence, we go through with walls substantially impermeable to the passage of water. And if it must be watertight, then it should be a little bit stronger than substantially impermeable to be watertight. We feel like that needs to be addressed. Also in section B of that same, this is on the provisions for flood hazard. The FEMA flood-proofing certificate references, when you look at their language, the term registered along with licensed registered. And in this language, the term registered is being stricken, yet the FEMA language that this references, they use both terms in combination. And our question was, why is registered being stricken when the FEMA language uses it? For 134-206, we wanted to thank you for eliminating the density bonus because that was going to be one of the recommendations that we were going to make. And again, thank you for doing that.
It hasn't been eliminated.
Oh, it hasn't?
It's been
Okay.
tabled.
Oh, tabled. Well, thank you for tabling it then for future discussion. The minimum house size at 950, we felt like that is way too small, 950 square footage, maybe increasing that to 1,200. Then moving on to the PVC development, where that was once a 50-acre minimum, and that's being reduced by 50%. Question being, we do have a UVC code that would allow this in less acres, so why reduce from 50 to 25 for the PVC? And that is it. Thank you.
Commissioner Ott.
On the, Frank, I had to read the one in the 58-32. And Dana, I think what you need to do is kind of put some separate sentences, because I think the land, further on in the sentence, it says, I believe what it's referring to, that the land cannot be structurally altered. Is that right, Dana?
I don't like speaking for water, but the way I read this, sir, the reason why it has structure and land in there, because it talks about being located, used, occupied, developed, erected, or a whole bunch of other stuff, which means you can't move dirt, you can't utilize land or structure in a mechanism.
Right, and so I think, Dana, what you need to do is get with water, because I know Commissioner Cupid and I both have floodplain and things like that, and, well, but the ones that there's right on the edge of the river, and you can't alter the land. And so I think that's why it's in there, but I think it is confusing. I mean, you see your point. And the 950 square feet, I think that comes from the RM12 if it was attached. That's the minimum size for RM12 attached. So detached, you're not getting any additional units. All you're literally doing is taking the units and separating them apart.
Correct.
So the size, you could have 950 if they're attached. And so if you start doing 1250, now you're kind of changing the,
Well, this says attached and detached. I was thinking for a detached 950.
right, I know, what I'm saying is the detached part, all it's doing is taking the exact, you get the same number of units
Okay.
attached or detached, and the size, the 950 comes from the attached part.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Carol Brown with Canton Road Neighbors. I'm a resident of Commission District 3. I support the proposed workforce housing incentive, which is in RM 12. It was under use limitations, and B, workforce housing, there was a density bonus. I know that it was recommended for denial by the Planning Commission, and some of them felt that it would be discriminatory and somehow violate the Georgia Fair Housing Act. So I thought I would actually read this into the record. Rule 186-2-02, discriminatory conduct under the Georgia Fair Housing Law as amended, and this is current as of 2018. Scope: it is the policy of the state of Georgia to provide within constitutional limitations for fair housing throughout the state. No person shall be subjected to discrimination because of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, or national origin in the sale, rental, or advertising of dwellings, in the provision of brokerage services, or in the availability of residential real estate-related transactions. As drafted, the workforce housing incentive, it's hard to imagine how it could possibly be discriminatory. Most large employers, and certainly the local governments, are equal opportunity employers. And if you look at the workforce, it's very diverse workforce. One of the common factors for many people employed in public service, public safety, people who are teachers, people who are nurses, is that they don't have a high income. What this proposed amendment states is simply that households earning no more than 100% of the area median income. These are middle income professionals. They're just not earning the same as trial attorneys or surgeons. And because land in Cobb County is so expensive, you have to have the density. And appropriately, this amendment is designated for the RM12, which is only going to be permitted in RACs, Regional Activity Centers, and in HDR, high-density residential areas. This isn't going to be spread throughout the county. It's going to be in certain areas. We know there's a critical shortage of a workforce housing. For example, for a household with 2 income earners and 2 children, that's a family of 4, that would be housing approximately $260,000. And there just isn't enough of that now. The market by itself has not solved this problem, and it needs some assistance. And I would ask that you tabled it, but I would ask that it be continued for further study. And those would be my comments. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm John Morgan. I think you know me. I wanted to add my ditto to what this lady has just said. I'm normally here talking about homelessness, and I noticed that problem hasn't been resolved either, based on a Banner article Friday from a city councilman who noticed more homeless people around lately. Group that comes and feeds there, and she can't go to get a soda without being panhandled, harassed, and so-called. It said homeless is one of Marietta's biggest problems. They're under underpasses and camps, and 30% of the Cobb's homeless are veterans, and she is one. She says, I feel for them. We've got drugs, families, because there's women and their children. We've got alcohol. We've got people who have mental issues. As last total, we know that there are 330 without shelters. Now,
Mr. Morgan?
yes, and I'm
What-
going.
Yeah, what does this have to do with the code amendments?
I'm coming to
Okay,
that.
all right.
It sounds like we haven't gotten further than the 2012 article, City Struggles with Homeless Problem in Downtown Area. It's a safety problem, and I think we need to resolve that too. I do hundreds, even thousands of resumes at the First United Methodist for Homeless, but now there are people coming to me wanting second jobs because their rent's raised $300 to $400. That's up 40 to 50%. Some of them 50% or more of their income, and that's just not sustainable. They have to make choices on medicine or paying for the room. $10 an hour, which is high for some people, times 40 hours a week, 400, times 4 weeks, 1,600, times 0.3,
because they
that's
didn't-
480, maybe $500 a month.
One second, sir.
Yes. I'm getting to that?
You're good. You're
Go
good. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Some of these folks face evictions, and that's one of the largest problems now. I just came from Cobb Legal Aid. In 2016, the latest year it's tabulated, there were 15,500 plus evictions in 1 year. 15 per day here in Cobb. Now that's hidden. People just don't see that except if you see stuff on the ground. Georgia is the second to third worst state in the nation providing affordable or equitable housing. So what I'm going to ask you is, will this RM 12 enhance affordable housing in Cobb, and how? Lastly, offering a solution. None other than Chairman Boyce and his assistant Murphy proposed a possible solution because housing has become too out of reach for high school jobs, police, firefighters, assistants, operators, and so on. This is the Sadowski Act in Florida, which with a 25-cent stamp on every real estate transaction,
Thank you, sir. That's
or 10 cent.
time.
Okay, one sentence and I'm done. Reached $340 million for housing relief. Now, if those who are
Okay, Mr. Morgan.
gentrification,
I gave you your sentence.
okay,
I gave
20,
you, Mr. Morgan, I gave you your
25 cents.
sentence. Thank you, sir.
Okay, they can afford 25 cents for each. Okay, thank you.
Hi there, good evening. I'm Irene Barton with the Cobb Collaborative. Chairman Boyce and Commissioners, thank you for your consideration of the issue of creating more options for affordable housing in our county. Just to provide context for the public hearing, as a part of the Georgia Family Connection Partnership, one of our 5 results areas is thriving communities, and home ownership is one of those indicators. Homeownership has declined in Cobb County, as you will see on the first page of the handout that's going around, as the graph shows. Affordable housing options have moved away from job centers and public transportation options, as the first public hearing of the evening revealed. In fact, the National Low Income Housing Coalition released data showing that Metro Atlanta has a housing wage of $17.53 an hour. This is the wage for a worker to afford even a 2-bedroom apartment at the median rent level for the metro area and not be considered as housing burdened, which is defined as more than 30% of income on out of the salary. So you can imagine the burden of being a homeowner if that's just the burden for to rent a 2-bedroom apartment. The map on the second page of your handout is a zoomed in view of home ownership at the census tract level, with red areas revealing low home ownership areas and the green areas revealing high home ownership areas.
There are many factors that play into the issue of affordable housing, wages, our changing demographics in Cobb County, just to name a couple, and it is difficult to address all of them. We thank you for recognizing the impact that home ownership at various price points has on the vitality and well-being of Cobb County and our citizens. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to comment on these proposed changes to the code amendments? Seeing none, I now close this public hearing on the proposed modifications to the code amendments. All right, so we agreed yesterday at agenda prep to address each one of these sections individually with a motion, and I'm going to turn the floor over to Commissioner Burrow.
Okay, so if I make a motion to approve and get a second,
Sure.
I can still vote against it
You can, sure.
because I have to make the motions here. Okay, so Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Economic Development, Film Permit, Section 2-180 Film Permit. I make a motion to approve.
Have a second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Okay, Chapter 50, Environment, Article 2, Chattahoochee River Corridor Tributary Protection Area, Division 2, Land Disturbance Permit, Section 50-52 Violation. I make a motion to approve.
Have a second. Any discussion? Call the question.
How am I doing?
Passes 5-0. You're awesome.
Are you supposed to be doing this part?
You tell me what you want me to do, Commissioner, I'll be
Okay.
happy to do it.
Chapter
Don't stop her.
54. Chapter 54, Fire Prevention and Protection. Article 3, Fire Safety Standards. The official, Section 54-54, Section 54.54.2, Operational Permits. I make a motion to approve.
Have a second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Chapter 58, Floods, Article 2, Flood Damage Prevention, Division 1, Section 58-26. I make a motion to approve.
Have a second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Section 58-32, motion to approve. Are
Have a second.
we gonna change that?
I would
land
suggest, I would make a substitute motion that we ask Dana to bring that back with a change to
Right.
that one paragraph.
Yeah, we'll work with Mr. McCullers in the Water Department, and we'll bring back a change in the
Okay.
next round to clarify that language.
thing? Okay, so I make a motion that we hold section 58-32.
Okay, we have a second. Discussion. Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Yes, excuse me, Chairman, just, it would be helpful to understand the implications of this language, because I would prefer not to change it if there's some technical reason why it is the way that it is. So if somebody can just clarify it.
We'll work with the water systems and take a look at that, Commissioner, and try to address all the concerns we're hearing.
Okay.
Is Steve
You're good?
McCullers here?
Yes,
Yeah, we're good.
he gave me a thumbs up.
Okay. Division 4, Provisions for Flood Hazard Reduction, Section 58-70. I make a motion to approve.
We have a second. Question. Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Chapter 122, Utilities, Water and Wastewater Systems, Division 2, Enforcement, Section 122-41. Motion to approve.
We have a second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Okay, Chapter 134, Zoning, Section 134-1. Motion to approve.
A second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Article 4, District Regulations, Section 134-206. A motion to approve and discussion
Okay.
after a second.
We have a second and discussion. Go ahead, Commissioner Burrow.
Dana, Is the RM12 required to be in an MDR land use?
RM12 is usually in an HDR or regional activity center are the main areas where the RM12, given the 12 units per acre, it's in the higher density, it's in the higher
I'm sorry,
intensity land
right.
use categories.
So will that still be the case? Is that a requirement?
It is a policy. It is not a regulation, it is a policy.
I think also to kind of answer your question, RM12 has a maximum of 12 units per acre. That doesn't mean you have to ask for 12. So someone could come in conceivably
Like
to
RSA.
build these detached units with the setbacks and all that are described in here, but only do 5 units per acre. But request RM12 because the lot sizes and the setbacks and all that. So the 12 is just the maximum number because we don't really have any other category that would allow those vertical units like we saw in that zoning in Vinings a couple months ago. So this code could be used for a much lower density than 12.
That is correct, and it's because the Board of Commissioners, if approved in this manner, the Board of Commissioners would be considering it on a site plan specific basis. The board will have the ultimate decision as to whether that layout meets what the board thinks is the intent of the code.
And it's still coming through zoning?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner
Okay,
Rutherford.
it's
Sure.
too dense for me.
I know this might be a somewhat difficult question, but if we go down the street about a block, what were those homes that Marietta's doing that are vertical and?
I don't know exactly what the
Would that
density
be
is.
similar to RM, or could be, except they're a lot bigger than 950
It could
square
be,
feet?
and a lot of what we did is we looked at the codes of Smyrna and Marietta, which are building similar products, to help us in shaping these recommendations.
So it'd be similar to that, but we allow smaller square footage.
Yeah, theirs actually is theirs is a type of planned unit development, which is the way they do this. So that really, every single subdivision under this code is looked at on a site-specific basis. So there's almost no rules in regard to it.
Oh, excuse me, I didn't realize my mic was, is that
Thank
for is that for Marietta or under our code?
For Marietta's and Smyrna's, but that's why we added some language in there with the site-specific requirements, so that if there is something that the board thinks a necessity is part of it, or that the board could consider that as part of any development coming forward.
Okay. Dana, does their code have the same minimum of 950 square feet? Do the codes in Smyrna and Marietta have the same minimum of 950 square feet?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, Commissioner, and I don't want to lead you astray. I'd have to take a look at that and get back with you on that.
What would be the impact of us having a separate section for attached and detached, or a separate?
Well, I think the point of it is I think the original intent of what staff was asked to look at was to find a mechanism for detached townhomes, which is what this newer product is being done. So we tried to keep it consistent between the two, since the only difference would be whether or not the buildings were actually touching or whether there was a small separation between the buildings. So that was what the request of staff was. So we tried to structure it in that manner.
Even a subsection, and I know there's been some concern that's been shared at community zoning meetings, and I think it was reflected in a question asked that I think 950 square feet is reasonable for attached, but if you're looking at detached, just 950 square feet minimum seems quite small.
I think the intent of this is to be a more urban style unit, and your more urban style units, due to the cost of land, will generally be a smaller unit in comparison to your larger suburban lots that we see in areas of east and west and south and north Cobb.
And I think also one of the things that when we talked about this, when Dana and I talked about this, you have a lot of young professionals that there is no for sale product like this, that they can kind of say, this is my house. They live in an apartment type building. Apartments in general actually can be smaller than 950 square feet. So in the discussion we had with the developer that actually brought this forward, it was that there was a market or desire by folks to be able to buy something that's saying, this is my unit. It's not part of this overall structure. And so the 950 square feet just simply came out of the fact that that's what was in the RM12. And the intent was to try not to come up with a whole new zoning category, but to just say, hey, RM12 would allow this many units on the property. If we take them apart, it's still the same number of units. It's just a different way of looking at the units.
I still don't like it.
Okay. Any other
To me, it's just giving variances, making it, reducing the setbacks and all that. Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Okay, any further discussion? Call the question. And it passes 3-2 with Commissioner Burrow and voice in opposition.
Okay, so we have one more.
Yes, ma'am.
134.
We received a letter from East Cobb Civic Association on the PVC. Was that entered into the record, or should that be discussed?
I think they expressed some concerns about the reduction of the minimum contiguous acres.
From 50 to 25?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, let's see, section 134-217 PVC Plan Village Community District. I make a motion to approve.
Have a second? Any discussion? Call the question.
Yeah,
Oops, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Dana, there was some discussion about, PVC in the past was kind of thought about being in certain land use designations or zoning categories or surrounding that, by reducing the size, are we setting it up to be able to put it in like low-density residential or VLDR?
No, sir. The restrictions contained within the PVC code for location still exist. The only difference is, and I think the rationale why staff brought this forward, is that there are not that many areas in our urban areas that have 50 acres.
I knew that. And so, real, my question should have been, is because we're only looking at paragraph 13. So there are other requirements in the PVC that would prevent it from being in those other areas.
That is absolutely correct, sir.
Okay.
So the land use wouldn't change?
Correct, ma'am.
But, again, is it policy or is it a requirement?
In this case, it's actually a requirement in the code itself. So for this particular ordinance.
Okay.
Help
So can that be stated
Yes,
with
ma'am.
the code?
It's an ordinance.
It's in the ordinance, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, can you help me understand that? You state that this is a requirement versus the other one. Couldn't someone apply for a variance?
Yes, ma'am, they may.
Okay, because I think when
Absolutely.
we had a PVC in the Six Flags area, it was less than the 50.
That's correct, and
yeah.
you can apply for a variance in order to vary any code that is contained in the zoning ordinance per constitutional requirements, ma'am.
Okay, then perhaps I don't understand how this is different than the prior zoning where you said it was more a matter of policy versus.
Because the other one is a comprehensive plan statement that states where high-density residential and regional activity centers, where their appropriate zoning categories are, which is a policy directed by the Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
Versus the PVC, which specifically
Yes,
says in the code,
zoning.
can only be used in blank.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any further discussion? Call the question. Passes 4-1 with Commissioner Burrow in opposition. Okay, I
Thank you,
think we're
Mr.
good,
Chairman.
right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Public comment. Ms. Nance?
Both speakers who had signed up have already spoken and do not wish to speak.
Okay, so let's go on to consent. Couple admin notes. Go to consent. We're going to move the following consent items to the regular agenda. Number 28, number 29, and 30. Those will all go to the regular agenda, and they'll be after the finance tab. 28, 29, and 30. And then we're going to pull 27 and 34. we need further discussion on 27 and 34, so they're being pulled. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and, if you would scroll the consent items on the screen, please, and then I'll go ahead and make a motion. With that, I move to approve the consent agenda as revised and authorize the execution of necessary documents by the appropriate county personnel. Second. We have a second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0. Okay, on to regular. And we bring back to the podium
Good afternoon again. So we have 13 items this afternoon for consideration, and our first item would be to request the Board of Commissioners determine that circumstances are such that it is necessary to proceed with condemnation proceedings by declaration of taking under OCGA 32-3-4 and authorize the commencement of condemnation proceedings on 3 parcels on Cherokee Street, adopt resolutions and orders in form substantially similar to the attached and as approved by the County Attorney's Office, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Hey, Commissioner Burrow.
Motion to approve.
A second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Our second item is to request the Board of Commissioners ratify previous action by the county manager authorizing emergency repairs on Olive Springs Road and Judy Drive in response to a sinkhole. Approved project number X2244 and to the 2018 countywide unit price contract with Chatfield Contracting in an amount not to exceed $162,941 for said repairs.
Commissioner Weatherford.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second. Have a second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 4-1 with the chairman in opposition.
The third item for consideration is to request the Board of Commissioners authorize submission of contract modifications to 7 respective contract agreements with the Georgia Department of Transportation for no-cost time extensions as follows. Cedar Crest Road through March 31st, 2019, Cobb Parkway, US 41 State Route 3 at Cedar Crest Road, Alltree Church Road through March 31st, 2019, Cobb Parkway, US 41 State Route 3 at Dallas Ackworth Highway, State Route 92 through June 1st, 2019, Cobb Parkway, US 41 State Route 3 at Windy Hill Road through June 30th, 2019, Interstate North Parkway at Interstate North Circle through March 31st, 2019, Cobb Parkway at US 41 intersections, including I-285 westbound off-ramp at Spring Road, Circle 75, until December 31st, 2018, at Windy Ridge Parkway through December 31st, 2018, and I-285 eastbound off-ramp through December 31st, 2018, and then lastly, I-75 at Wade Green Road Diversion Diamond Interchange through June 1st, 2019.
Commissioner Ott.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Our next item, we would like to request the Board of Commissioners approve a change order number 1 to the contract with Chatfield Contracting, a no-cost time extension through February 15th, 2019 for guardrail installation.
Commissioner Ott.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Call the question. Passes.
Yes, ma'am.
You got to vote.
Yes, ma'am. It was warranted guardrail.
Yeah, passes 5-0.
Our next item is to request the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 to the contract with Baldwin Paving, Inc., a no-cost time extension through February 28th, 2019 for thoroughfare improvements on Cobb Parkway, US 41, State Route 3 at Dallas, Ackworth Highway at State Route 92.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
This discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Our next item is to request the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 final to the contract with C.W. Matthews Contracting Company, a savings to the project in the amount of $1,075,678.73 for I-75 at Windy Hill Road diverging Diamond Interchange.
Commissioner Ott.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Our next item is to request the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 final to the contract with D&H Construction Company, Inc., a savings to the project in the amount of $20,101.53 for intersection improvements on Powder Springs Road at Deer Creek Drive, and approve a contract time extension through October 26, 2018.
Commissioner Cupid.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you. The next item is to request the Board of Commissioners approve amendment number 1 to the Cobb Framework Agreement with the City of Powder Springs for intersection improvements on Powder Springs Road at Flint Hill Road, Pine Grove Road, Deer Creek Drive.
Commissioner Cupid.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you. The next item is to request the Board of Commissioners approve a notice of intent for a proposed quiet zone at Nickajack Road.
Commissioner Cupid.
Yes, I know residents of the area are very pleased to see this move forward. I am just pleading for your help in us moving this along to work with the city of Smyrna for their next step in the process.
Yes, ma'am.
And also want to share with constituents in the area that it is our intent to also move forward the closing of the crossing off of Church Street in conjunction with this item.
Yes, ma'am.
With that, motion to approve.
Second, and a comment, if you don't.
Go ahead.
We have several of those in my district, specifically in Ackworth, and it's not going to be a quick process. I can tell you that right now.
I can't-
But mainly because of CSX, if nothing else.
Yeah, I know the process is a long process, but just the decision points that at least are within local control, I'm just having a difficult time with the spans of time between us moving forward on that, so just any help you can provide would be appreciated. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Our next item is to request the Board of Commissioners approve a general agreement with the National Park Service in the City of Marietta for Kennesaw Mountain pedestrian improvements.
Commissioner Weatherford.
Yes, sir, what can I do for you?
Motion to approve.
Second. You made the motion, second. Call the
She seconded it. Any further discussion? I'm calling that question.
We were having a public hearing over here.
Push that button.
Yes, sir. Which one, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Passes 5-0.
Yay.
Thank you, sir. Our next item is to request the Board of Commissioners approve a quarterly update to the Department of Transportation's pre-qualified list of engineering and associated specialty firms available to be utilized for the procurement of professional services for the 2018-2019 pre-qualification period expiring on April 23rd, 2020.
Commissioner Ott.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is to request the Board of Commissioners approve the recommended ranking of the 3 most qualified firms for development of the five-year update to the Cobb County 2040 Comprehensive Transportation Plan and authorize negotiations for final scope of services and fee with the top-ranked firm, Kimley Horn and Associates and utilizing selection process number 2, competitive proposals.
Commissioner Ott.
Just a quick comment on this, the comments we had earlier about the bus service, this will also be looking at that in addition to the survey. Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Sure.
Another question. I guess I have some concern, particularly in light of outreach to all constituents, in light of some of the comments made during public comment, that it should be robust and looking at many alternatives to reach populations that may not respond to traditional modes of surveys
Yes, ma'am.
and outreach.
An actual team that is with Kimley Horn when they presented to us, they had a very unique and robust idea of, going out to parks, festivals, schools. I mean, they're really putting a lot of thought of how to get out there in front of the public and educate and get feedback and comments.
Okay, I appreciate that.
We'll work with that.
Yeah, just
definitely, because we want to make sure we reach as many people as we can.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Sorry.
You might want to consider, when we finally get this thing far enough along,
Yes, sir.
putting the board together with a work session about
sir.
where we are, and so we can address all these issues.
Yes, sir.
Sure, I
Yes.
get that part, but we probably need to have a little bit more board involvement,
Yes, sir.
given that there's a lot of moving pieces right now between that
Definitely.
and the survey and the transit study.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
I'm sorry to belabor this point. I remember this discussion 5 years ago. I remember there was a change order that was going to come before us to increase the amount towards the consultant for additional outreach. And it wasn't favorable at that time, but again, just in light of the discussion today, if we have additional resources,
Sure.
it seems like it's worth it, because I'm just pricked by the diversity of comments that we had earlier that just did not surface in any prior discussion, and that to be missed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Commissioner Ott, you still have to make the motion.
He didn't.
Oh. Oh.
It's been second.
Oh. Well, I guess I should vote, huh? Passes 5-0.
And the last item for DOT tonight is to request the Board of Commissioners authorize procurement of professional services in an amount not to exceed $46,350 for the upgrade and enhancements of the cartograph work and asset management software system.
Commissioner Ott.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Erica. Okay, property management?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, County Manager. Property's got one item. It's to approve a two-part design contract with Albion Scotia Enterprises LLC for the renovation of the Swatcher Library. The Swatcher Library upgrade is an eligible capital improvement project under the 2016 SPLOST. Funding is available in the 2016 SPLOST project budget. The Board of Commissioners approved a two-part design build contract with Albion Scotia Enterprises LLC in the amount not to exceed $1,190,273, with the initial phase to include only the design, project fee, and general condition cost for the renovation and expansion of the Swatcher Library 2011-2016 SPLOST project. Approve the corresponding budget transaction and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Weatherford.
Thank you.
Sorry?
Over libraries.
Well, okay. But
Over
it's just a
library.
library issue, that's all.
Go ahead, I'll make comments.
Okay.
Forgot what I was saying now. Okay. Do you have an idea what the GMP might be, General, and do we have the funds for that? Or do we have it?
For the guaranteed max you're talking about?
Correct. I mean.
Yes, we do. We haven't, there's an idea. Yes, sir.
And we have
Around
the
7
funds for
million,
that?
and we have the funds for it, yes, sir.
Say again?
It's gonna be around 7 million.
Okay, so it's gonna be quite a major expansion, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved is presented.
And Commissioner Burrow?
And discussion,
Okay, go ahead.
and 2 million is from the state
2 million, yes. Yes, ma'am.
of the 7.
Yes.
Right, and this was a 2011 project as well, that we were waiting for funding from the state. So I'm glad to see this now moving forward.
Any other discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman, Board of Commissioners, and County Manager. Tonight, I'd like to authorize the spending of remaining 2011 SPLOST funding of $156,310 for equipment and facility capital improvements for the fire department. Pursuant to the Cobb County 2011 SPLOST, Cobb County Fire and Emergency Services was authorized to proceed with several capital projects and equipment replacement procurements, specifically paving and roofing repairs to station facilities. And upon completion of those and with cost savings after the implementation, there's a balance of $156,310, and they would wish to utilize the remaining funds for the purpose of additional paving and roofing repairs to some of the fire stations. Therefore, I'm asking the Board of Commissioners to authorize the spending of the remaining 2011 SPLOST funding of $156,310 for equipment and facility capital improvements, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Mr. Weatherford.
Motion to approve, sir.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir.
And Finance, Bill Volkman.
Evening, Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. We have one item tonight, and it is to approve a memorandum of understanding with Cobb Travel and Tourism. This memorandum of understanding will allocate a portion of the sports tourism service fee, or the $3 room night fee that's collected in the Cumberland Special Service District 1 to Cobb Travel and Tourism for the use and reinvestment and services within the district. The memorandum of understanding also provides an annual review by both parties to ensure that collections are adequate to meet the obligations included, and contains a provision to adjust the fees based on collections. So with that, I ask the Board of Commissioners to approve the memorandum of understanding with Cobb Travel and Tourism, Inc., and authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Mr. Cupid.
So moved.
Second. Second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0. All right. Now we're going to go to those items that we pulled. For consent to regular, and I'll turn the floor over to you, Dana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dana Johnson, Cobb County Community Development. The first item is for the Board of Commissioners to accept the purpose-built student housing study. This is a study that was requested of staff. We started it in October 11th of 2017 when we suspended the acceptance of applications for purpose-built student housing. Staff has gone through and analyzed this and has provided some policy recommendations to the Board of Commissioners, and we ask staff to please accept the study.
Okay, and the reason I like to have this pulled, I think I was joined with other members of the board, is just want to make sure that there's any discussion about this, this analysis, so we didn't bury it in consent. This is something I just want to bring out, and give it a little bit more sunshine, so that if we discuss it, we can all individually vote on it. So Commissioner Wright, you had a comment?
Yeah, I mean, and I know we talked about the words we put in here. I mean, to accept, we're simply accepting the study. It's not requiring any action. I mean, it's not directing staff to put this into the code. I know you're going to look at code changes, but I just want to make it clear that this is simply saying we have a study that we paid for and we're accepting it.
That is correct, sir. That's why we use the word accept and not approve.
Right.
Commissioner Burrow.
Also, just so the public knows, this has been an ongoing study. It has been completed, and we have several options outlined in it that will come back to the board for approval after public meetings with input. We have had one stakeholders meeting with all the partners involved, City of Kennesaw, KSU, Town Center CID.
And residents.
Pardon?
And residents, ma'am.
And residents, Bells Ferry Civic Association. So this is just accepting as Dana mentioned, the study, now that it's complete. But there will be several public meetings for public input and community involvement.
Commissioner Weatherford.
Sure. Now, I'm confused. I mean, we had a master parks plan and we were accepting it or approving it, or is this the right language for all the board now? Because I know we had some
I think
concerns
there are
last time.
times when the board might want to approve something, and there are times when you want to accept something. We chose to recommend the word accept because there's no policy direction being provided by the board at this point in time, which is why we asked for that language to be incorporated into it.
Good. I just want to clarify that.
Yes, sir.
He's being.
Commissioner Burrow, you can make the motion.
Motion to approve agenda item number 28.
Okay, you have a second? Second. We have a second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Agenda item 29, sir, is a request to extend an existing moratorium on the accepting of applications for purpose-built student housing to allow staff time to prepare new regulations and bring them forward in the January-February code amendment cycle.
Okay, and again, the reason I asked this to be pulled along with some other board members is that we just want to make sure that we give this as wide a distribution as possible, that we're going to continue to extend the moratorium. So any other comments from the board? If not, Commissioner Burrow?
This extends it to March 31st to give us time to have public meetings and feedback.
March 31st or until a new code is approved.
Approved, correct. Motion to approve.
Have a second? Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask Mr. Hughes to please cover the last agenda item for community development, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. The purpose of this agenda item is to request that you adopt a resolution approving the issuance of Development Authority Cobb County of its multifamily note for the purpose of assisting Adrian Senior 1 LP Georgia Limited Partnership. By way of background, the Development Authority is considering issuing its tax-exempt multifamily note to finance the acquisition, construction, installation, and equipment of an approximately 175-unit rental housing community of seniors on property located at 1965 Austell Road in Marietta, Georgia. The project is the collaboration of the Marietta Housing Authority and Adrian Senior. This action is being required by the section 147 of the Internal Revenue Code 1986 as amended, and it provides that the governmental unit having the jurisdiction over the area must approve this resolution to authorize these bonds. Yesterday, you'd asked staff to put together a map highlighting the apartment units within a mile radius of the project site. Staff has done that. That is displayed for you on your screens. Approximately, there are 18 apartment complexes within that mile radius, representing about 1,755 units. With that, staff would recommend your approval.
It's 18 within 1 mile of this proposed development.
Yes, sir, just about.
18 buildings?
No, 18 apartment complexes representing 1,755 units.
And you don't have this broken down by district, do you?
No, it's all, I think it's all within your district, isn't it, Commissioner Cooper?
Actually, it's
not
not.
all these.
No,
Not all these are.
Actually, there's a confluence here of 3 districts.
Oh, 3, okay.
There's 3, there's 4, and there's 1.
2.
2, excuse me.
Oh, no 2. Okay.
Michael, was there an assessment of how many are affordable units in this area? I know it was a short amount of time between
No, Commissioner.
yesterday and today. Yeah. Yesterday, Commissioner Burrow asked if there was a public meeting with respect to this?
And there was not, Commissioner. Just simply put at this point, because there's really no requirement to do that in terms of policy. But if it's the desire of the board for us to develop such a policy, we can certainly do that at some point and bring that back to you for your consideration.
Is it me? It's yours. Okay. Yeah, as in discussion yesterday, I have Marietta Housing Authority, in my area as well.
Yes.
And they're not required, but they did hold public meetings prior to, they are exempt from zoning, but they still held a public meeting for residents to come, and I got a lot of emails. I don't know if you have on this or not.
I haven't, I just had general concern about this because of how close District 4 is to this area. And I've had a similar experience where MHA reached out to the surrounding community to let them know about their interest in developing prior to moving this far ahead and having a resolution drafted.
Is there a time frame that we're under or can this be held and give them an opportunity to?
We have representatives from Marietta Housing Authority here and the developer here, and I'm gonna let them answer that question in terms of timing.
They're independent.
You don't have to.
They're an independent authority. I mean, there's no connection between us other than the fact that by law, we have to make a comment about this, right?
Correct. Something that's already been approved by
Yeah.
I have no
They
problem
are
with this
trying to
issue.
have,
and
they
I
are trying to
bring
close
forward
it by
a
the end of the year.
necessary.
They
I'm
are
sorry?
trying to close the transaction by the end of the year.
Well, okay, that's another 60 days, so.
Well, can we ask them if they would hold a public meeting
let's-
if we table this until they can?
I think that's how you send the signal. We table it.
Well, I'd like
I mean,
to
if-
give them a courtesy of, since they're not required to, but we would prefer.
Well-
that meeting.
I think it is a issue of fairness to how we've treated matters of this nature in other areas that, again, I've had the courtesy of having public meetings when you certainly had a change in residential scope of an area to at least meet with the residents. And I can't support this without that taking place. I can't.
So, do you
I-
want me
I
to make a
just-
motion? or-
Yes, right.
My only comment about that is that at the 11th hour, and it is almost the 11th hour, to tell them that, oh, by the way, we're not going to vote for this because you didn't have a meeting that you're not required to have. And by the way, we didn't tell you that we might want to have a meeting. I mean, I understand that it would be nice to have a meeting, but to hold up something and we say they have 60 days, well, our next meeting is November 13th.
Okay.
And then you have, I just think that it's not reasonable to all of a sudden announce that, oh, we're not going to vote for something because you didn't have a meeting you didn't know you had to have and you're not required to have.
Totally agree.
I would look at this comparable to zoning, and we can look at a recent example that we had with Zion Keepers, where we had not even the change of a residential structure, we just had the change of its use. And this board looked at that matter as having the impact of zoning and tabled that matter for community discussion because we looked at the impact that that change would have in that community. This structure is beyond the scope and scale of that matter and can have significant impact to the surrounding community. And not having notice to even be involved in the discussion, I think may, yes, limit the interest of the developer, but I think it balances the interests of that surrounding community that is going to have a significant change in scope and scale of the residential character of its area.
And look at Zion Keepers.
Exactly.
We didn't give a notice of that, and
Completely
look what
different
happened.
situation.
Correct, I agree with Commissioner Rutherford. The circumstances are different, but the impact is even far more significant in this matter than it is with Zion Keepers.
Yeah, but in Zion Keepers, they were required to have public meetings.
Correct.
This, the Marietta Housing Authority is not required to have public meetings.
For
The only
Zion-
reason that the issue came up with Zion Keepers was because there was thought that more public meetings need to be had. But it's a totally different situation. It's apples and oranges.
I don't necessarily think that it's the same situation as Zion Keepers. But again, you're saying they needed more public meetings for just the change of a use of a building here you're saying there are no public meetings that should be used to completely modify the development on a parcel, which would go from a single-family home to a multifamily affordable housing structure that I believe has some requirements that keep some of the units affordable for
seniors.
For seniors, not into perpetuity, at least for a significant life of that project, which I think, again, has significant impact to that community. And I don't think that holding it to at least reach out to the community for at least one public meeting is going to is going to derail the interest of the developer moving forward.
Do we have a motion at all, Mr.
No,
Chairman?
we don't, because I'm still
We're talking.
discussing.
Well,
We discuss after a motion.
Okay.
Well, we've done both.
I know we have.
We've done both, all right?
I'll be glad to make a motion.
Michael,
Yes, ma'am.
in the book, there's a report of a public hearing relating to the issuance from the Development Authority. So would that have been, and there's an affidavit that they published in the Marietta Daily Journal.
Correct.
So what,
The Development Authority has to have a TEFRA hearing. That's part of this financial transactional process. But, and they conducted that at the Chamber of Commerce, which is their custom of doing so. But in terms of, notifying residents within the area on the site, I don't believe that occurred.
Okay.
okay.
Isn't this commercial zoning right now? This is not residential zoning.
It is in NS and O&I, I believe. So yes.
Right, so we're not going from single-family residential to.
The current use is not commercial.
Right, it
It's
is.
zoned that way.
It is zoned that way, correct.
Zoning and the actual use do not necessarily give the same notice to the residents.
But is it does it border residential?
Yes, it does.
So, any more discussion?
No, go ahead and make the motion.
I make a motion that we hold this till the first meeting in November.
Second.
Have a second? Any further discussion?
I'll make a motion,
Point of
a substitute
clarification,
motion, please.
are we requiring them to have a public meeting?
Well, we're
Or just
requesting
holding
it.
We're requesting.
Before,
That's
I mean, we can't
motion.
require it.
Okay,
Well,
hold on, okay, hold on. All right, so we
That
got
comes
a
back and
motion,
we
we got
don't
a
have to
second,
vote.
and now we got a substitute motion,
Correct.
which is,
I move we approve item 30 as presented, sir.
all right, so we have a substitute motion. So if you vote yes for that, let me just discuss this, make it clear. If you vote yes for the substitute motion, that means we're going to approve what's on this page. We're going to move forward. If you vote against it, then we're going to go back to Commissioner Burrow's motion, all right?
Correct.
And I have a comment before we vote.
I'm sorry?
I have a comment.
Okay, go
before we
ahead.
vote.
Sure.
And I think, Commissioner Burrow, your comments, you say we're not requiring it, you're requesting it. So what happens on November 13th if they don't have a meeting between now and then?
Well,
What changes?
our
Because they
vote.
still weren't
Our
required to
vote.
have a meeting.
Okay. We're not saying that, we can't require them to have a meeting because they're not required by law
Well, you are.
to have a
Right, I
meeting.
understand that. So what happens on November 13th
We're
if they haven't had a
requesting that
meeting?
they have a meeting.
And what happens on November 13th
You'll
if they
have
don't
to
have a
come
meeting?
back and vote.
That's how the system works. Okay, so, any other discussion? Call the question. It doesn't pass with Commissioners Cupid, Boyce, and Burrow in opposition. Now we go back to Commissioner Burrow's motion, where she's made a motion that we table this proposal, this motion, table this
the
motion
November
until the first
second-
meeting in November.
First meeting. in-
Okay, any other discussion on that?
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All right, now call the question. It passes 3-2 with Commissioners Weatherford and Odd in opposition. Okay, thank you. All right. So now we're on to Commissioners' comment. We have no other public comment, right, Ms. Nance? All right, so I'll start with Commissioner Ott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a couple things. Coming up on Tuesday, night before Halloween, the Walton High School Marching Raider Band is going to be having a performance entitled Into That Good Night. It's on Raider Field, starts at 7 o'clock. There's actually quite a few activities going on over at Walton. the band has a lot of accolades. Best musical performance in their class and overall best visual performance, best percussion, best auxiliary guard, grand champions for their class and grand champions for open class. So promises to be a great event. And then the last thing is, for the folks that have been wondering what's going into Checkers, there is now a Jason's Deli location in East Cobb, which actually opened yesterday. So they're open 10 to 10, 7 days a week. And happy Halloween.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrow.
Okay. Early voting is going on right now until November 2nd. Next week, there will be several more locations opening up, 2 in District 3, Noonday Baptist Church, and East Cobb Senior Center. Also, this Saturday is Medication Disposal Day at Precinct 1 on Cobb Parkway from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., hosted by Keep Cobb Beautiful. And also, there is free vision screening on Saturday from 11:30 to 2:30 at the Schweitzer Library, 266 Roswell Street. Diaper Day is this coming Monday at 5 o'clock on the square at Glover Park. And we'll be collecting diapers for the less fortunate in the community. It serves a great purpose for those in need, for several different agencies to distribute. And you can go to cobbdiaperday.com. And on November 10th at Jim Miller Park, we will be having a community recycling day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., 2245 Callaway Road in Marietta, sponsored by Keep Cobb Beautiful. So, happy Halloween.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrow. Commissioner Weatherford.
Thank you, sir. Just wanted to make an announcement that this Friday, October the 26th, all libraries will be delayed 1 hour, opening till noon because of in-staff training. So that's this Friday only, 1 hour delay. There's a Ackworth Halloween Jamboree at Logan Farm Park this Saturday, October 22nd from 3 to 27th, I'm sorry, from 3 to 7. And also that night, there's the Ackworth Classic Car Cruise-In. Another thing on Saturday, 10 to 2 at Lost Mountain Baptist Church on Dallas Highway is a community festival called Cool Cars and Cops. That sounds fun. And that will be at Lost Mountain Baptist Church. And this week, also on Monday, we had newly promoted sergeants from Cobb Police Department. Congratulations to Sergeants Williams, Cantrell, and Tompkins, as well as Lieutenant Knowles and Nichols. And they had a badge pinning ceremony on Monday. And along with Halloween, I want everyone to be mindful of kids' safety. The children will be out on Halloween night, so be cognizant of that fact and be watching out for the trick-or-treaters. And finally, depending on the lotto tonight, I may or may not be here on November the 13th, so I won't be here to vote on that last particular amendment.
Commissioner Cupid.
No comment.
Top that.
No comment, but a question. Is it too late for me to buy a ticket?
11 o'clock.
Oh, 11 o'clock, okay. I hope no cop is following me as I go speed to the gas station to get my ticket.
Okay.
With that, happy Halloween.
And the only thing I'm going to say is that Commissioner Weatherford's going as himself for Halloween. And and I also want to thank Cassie Masloom and the EMA department for all the great things they did during Hurricane Michael, and also the county employees and public safety. I know we helped out in different parts of the county and the state. So once again, Cobb's at its best, and appreciate all the great work that the staff continues to do to make all of us up here look good. And with that, let's go out there and trick or treat. Good night.
Thank you.